To get my family off my back about getting married, I found a girl online to be my fake wife. But when we got to the registry office, the clerk just looked at me with pure contempt. You're already married. Why are you here? Ever heard of bigamy walking out of the building? I stared at the printout of my marriage certificate, completely stunned. Even the girl I hired felt sorry for me. Look, Mr. Fang, you're already hitched. Why'd you waste money hiring me? She told me she was keeping the deposit and vanished before I could blink. I just stood there, my mind racing. I've never even held a girl's hand. How could I possibly be married? I looked at the paper again. The guy in the photo was definitely me. The woman was listed as Su Qingyue. She was gorgeous, but I'd never seen her before in my life. I snapped a photo of the certificate and sent it to a contact with a black profile picture. Find out who she is. The instant reply calmed my nerves a bit. I hopped on my beat-up electric scooter and headed slowly toward a luxury villa complex. As soon as I parked in a corner, I overheard the servants gossiping. Who's that? Wow, he's handsome. Shh, watch what you say. That's the master's illegitimate son. His mother was the mistress. Years ago, when the real mistress of the house was about to give birth, that woman showed up pregnant and demanding a place here. They both ended up giving birth on the same day. That woman is so thick-skinned. All these years, she's found every excuse to stay in this house. At least the kid knows his place. He moved out back in middle school and hasn't been back in years. Wonder what he wants today. I frowned, pretending not to hear them. When I entered the living room, my mother, Li Ruyan, was waiting by the door. She grabbed my arm and dragged me upstairs. Come with me. We need to see your brother. Did you get the marriage certificate? I answered flatly. Yeah, I got it. The bride wasn't who I expected, but it's a valid certificate. Good. Now, remember your place. Su Qingyue is your brother's fiancée, an elite family like hers. Isn't something an illegitimate son like you can even dream of? Only your brother is worthy of her. Hearing that, a flash of mockery crossed my eyes. Su Qingyue was the heiress of the Su family, the top clan in the city. She'd spent 4 years in college chasing me only to end up with my brother Feng Boda on graduation day. When Li Ruyan found out, she demanded I marry someone else immediately, to kill any chance of me being with Fake Shui. It's always been like this. Whenever my interests clashed with Feng Boda's, my mother expected me to back down unconditionally, because I'm the bastard son. To her, my very existence is a sin. As a kid, I was brainwashed into thinking I deserved this treatment, but I'm wide awake now. I looked at my mother with a cold smirk and said, fine, this is the last time. Li Ruyan was the one who made the mistake of clinging to the Fang family just to see my father. She's the one desperate to suck up to Boda. I'm done paying for her life with mine. I'm only doing this to settle the debt of her raising me. Then I'm finished with her. She just sighed impatiently. I get it. We walked into Fang Boda's room. Boda saw me and waved. Hey, Lanzhou, what are you doing here? Before I could speak, my mother cut in. Boda. Lanzhou got married today. Boda looked surprised. So soon? Who's the girl? Is she as great as Fei Shui? Li Ruyan scoffed. Please. In this city, no one has more status than Miss Su. Look at who he is. What kind of girl could he get? Probably just some commoner from the streets. He didn't even dare bring her here, because he knew she'd be an eyesore. Boda's voice turned slightly bitter. Come on, Mom. Lanzhou is a good-looking guy. Fake Shui wouldn't have chased him for 4 years otherwise. What good are looks with his background? The only woman he can get is some nobody he met on the street. To Miss Su, he's just a toy, someone to play with for a while. Only Boda is actually a match for Miss Su. I frowned. The woman in the photo had class. She looked nothing like some street thug or a cheap gold digger, but I didn't bother arguing over their petty comments. Feng Boda finished putting on his watch. He went to put on his shoes, but his shirt was too tight to lean over comfortably. He gave me a knowing smile. Seeing this, Li Ruyan shoved me. You useless brat. Still as clueless as ever. Your brother's struggling. Hurry up and help him with his shoes. Here we go again. Li Ruyan, do you really think I'm still that naive little boy, the one who just took every hit without fighting back? I looked at them coldly, my voice thick with annoyance. You can put them on for him yourself. Fang Lanzhou, watch your tone. Do you think having a wife suddenly makes you a big man? That woman is clearly just after your money. You'll both end up begging the Fang family for help soon enough. Li Ruyan's voice hit a shrill peak as she kept ranting. If you don't stay on your brother's good side, you and your wife will be crawling back to him one day. Besides, the Fangs raised you. You should be working yourself to the bone for this family. Before I could snap back, my father Fang Wenzong appeared at the door. He frowned. We have an important guest arriving. What are you two screaming about? Boda stayed silent. But Li Ruyan started wailing to him. This ungrateful brat got his marriage certificate today, and now he has zero respect for his own mother. My father's gaze shifted to me. You're married. Why didn't you let the family set you up with someone? Do you have the certificate? Let me see it. Faced with this sudden concern from a distant father, I hesitated. I pulled the printout from my bag, but Li Ruyan snatched it away. Let me see what this low-life wife of yours is actually called. Meanwhile, Boda asked curiously, Dad, who's coming over? That has you. So on edge, just thinking of the guest made Wensong beam with pride. He said the name with excitement, Su Qingyue. I froze the moment I heard it. Seeing our confusion, Wensong explained proudly, It's fine if you don't know her. She's very private. Even I've never met her in person. She's Su Feishui's aunt. Only 28 yet, she's already the true power behind the Su family. Li Ruyan blurted out, Then wouldn't she be a better match? For Boda, the head of the family, is way more powerful than just being a granddaughter of the main branch. Wenzong snapped, Don't talk nonsense. Miss Su is already married. I narrowed my eyes. Married. If the woman on my certificate really is her, then it looks like Su Qingyue is the only one who knows what's going on. Li Ruyan looked disappointed. Who's her husband? He's luckier than Boda. I looked straight at my father, waiting for the answer. I don't know, he said. Apparently she and her husband both hate social events. He sighed deep in thought. I have no idea why she just dropped by today. The Sus are the top family in the city and their leader holds immense power. The Fangs are only upper middle class at best. This marriage was already a huge step up for Fang Boda. Having the head of the Su family attend the wedding would be a miracle. Why would she show up in person just for an engagement visit? Li Ruyan said confidently, It must be because Boda is so exceptional. The Sus are finally starting to take him seriously. She shoved the certificate back into my hand, without even glancing at it, and grabbed Boda's arm, beaming with excitement. I let out a mocking laugh. She's more invested in this than the actual mother of the house. Just then, the butler went upstairs to remind the master the Sus are almost here. Hearing that, Fang Wenzong hurried back downstairs. As he passed me, he said offhandedly, You haven't been home in a while. Stay for a drink before you go. I nodded and stayed. I wanted to see for myself who this Su Qingyue really was. Back in the room, Li Ruyan watched Fang Boda prepare to marry into a powerful family. She couldn't hide her pure delight and satisfaction. Over 20 years ago, if Mrs. Fang Nanjingshu hadn't shown up, Li Ruyan would have been the one to marry Wenzong. She hated Nanjingshu. She had intentionally caused trouble to give birth on the same day, so she could swap the two babies at the hospital. Now her son was finally coming into his own, and Yingshu was even going to give the boy a generous wedding gift. Meanwhile, Fang Lanshou was stuck with the illegitimate label penniless and forced to marry some nobody from the streets. Downstairs, I leaned back in the shadows near the staircase, watching the entrance and waiting for the Sus to arrive. After a while, Mrs. Fang came downstairs leaning on a servant for support. She was wearing a purple qipao. She looked thin and frail, but she had a refined scholarly air about her and a very gentle presence. The servant whispered, Ma'am, you're not well. You really shouldn't have come down. Mrs. Fang shook her head between coughs. No, this is such a big day for Boda. I can't miss it. Looking at her, my heart filled with a complicated sense of longing. It was ironic. Mrs. Fang had every right to hate me, yet she was the only person who ever showed me warmth in this house. When I was little, Li Ruyan often forgot to feed me. As soon as I could walk, I was so hungry that I'd dig through the trash for scraps. Mrs. Fang caught me once, and after that, she started leaving food in the garden for me every single day. She did that for 12 years. If it weren't for her kindness, I probably would have starved to death long ago. I watched her walk away, listening to her persistent coughing, and my chest tightened with worry. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the door. The Sus had arrived. Fang Wenzong and his wife greeted them at the entrance. After a few pleasantries, they stepped aside and a large group of people filed into the house. I spotted Su Qingyue immediately. She was even more beautiful in person than in her photo. As if sensing my gaze, she suddenly looked my way. Our eyes met for a split second. The intensity of her stare caught me off guard. I tried to read the emotion in her eyes, but she quickly looked away. It left me completely baffled. What was that? Does she actually know me or not? Fang Wenzong smiled at her flatteringly. Miss Su, where is your husband? Didn't he come with you when he asked that I felt Su Qingyue glance at me again? Then she said flatly, it wasn't convenient for him. The group chatted as they headed toward the parlor. My old classmate Su Shui, who had chased me for 4 years, followed behind the elders. In her formal gown, she looked more mature than she did in college. She didn't notice me. She was distracted, whispering quietly with Fang Boda. Everyone ushered Su Qingyue to the seat of honor to begin discussing the wedding arrangements. Only then did I step out from the shadows. I stood there quietly watching the lively scene in the parlor when someone suddenly grabbed my arm. Li Ruyan hissed at me, Fang Lanzhou. What are you still doing here? Are you still not over Su Shui? I'm telling you she's your sister-in-law now. I shook her off with a look of disgust. Relax. I have no interest in being the other man. Mr. Fang asked me to stay for a drink. Ever since I was old enough to understand, I've always called my father Mr. Fang. Li Ruyan gritted her teeth. He was just being polite. And you actually took him seriously. You really don't know your place, do you? On a day like this? If I can't even be seen there, do you really think I'll let you embarrass the family? You're a bastard. Do you really think you deserve a seat at the table? Now get out of here. I frowned, losing my patience. Just as I was about to snap back, I saw Su Qingyue stand up out of the corner of my eye. She motioned to her phone and headed toward the balcony, clearly going to take a call. My eyes lit up. I gave my mother a half-hearted answer and slipped out of the living room. I doubled back toward the balcony. As I got closer, she was just hanging up. She turned and looked at me, her eyes icy. I stopped in my tracks. Facing that dangerous gaze, I let a smirk play on my lips. Hey, honey, I called out, testing the waters. I watched her reaction closely, but the moment the word honey hit her ears, the air around her turned even colder. She looked at me with zero emotion, just pure ice. Then she turned to leave. I moved quickly, blocking her path. She knit her brows. Move. She didn't recognize me. Su Qingyue looked down her nose at me. Should I know you? Ever since she'd walked into the house, she'd felt someone's eyes on her. Someone was tracking her every move. But the gaze was direct. It wasn't like the typical oily stares that made her skin crawl. That's why she'd glanced my way a few times. When she caught me, I didn't look away. I just kept staring right back at her. She'd thought I might be different from the greedy men, who usually chased after her. But it turned out I was even bolder, calling her honey the second I got her alone. Her impatience grew. Look, sir, I'm married. Have some respect. I was stunned. She clearly didn't know me yet. She said she was married. Did the registry office mess up the paperwork? Who exactly is your husband? I asked. None of your business. More icy words. I pulled out the copy of the marriage certificate and held it out to her. Miss Su, this is you on the paperwork, right? She looked at the copy, her eyes landing on the groom's name. Fang Lanzhou. She gave a mocking laugh. Mr. Fang, an original certificate doesn't cost that much. If you're going to forge one, at least be professional about it. Without another word, she skipped the living room entirely and marched through the garden toward the parking lot. I chased after her to explain, but two bodyguards in black suits cut me off. I stopped and shouted at her, retreating back. Miss Su, that document is real. If you don't believe me, check with the registry office. She didn't even slow down. She got into her car and drove straight off. Her assistant stayed behind and went back inside, where he ran into Fang Boda. Boda had seen me pestering her, though he couldn't hear what we were saying. Now that she was gone and I was chasing after her on my scooter, Boda asked the assistant, why is Miss Su leaving so soon? Did someone offend her? The assistant smiled politely. Miss Su has business to attend to. She had to leave early. Please let the elders know. Boda nodded quickly and saw the assistant out with practiced courtesy. Once they were gone, Fang Wenzong looked worried. Why did she leave? Was our hospitality not good enough? Boda thought about how distracted Su Shui had been today, acting totally out of it, and constantly looking around like she was searching for someone. Then he thought about my face. He clenched his fists, his eyes flashing with a scheme. Dad, I saw Lanzhou harassing Miss Su. She was furious when she left. She even left a message. What kind of message? She said you need to learn how to control your family. Boda continued, if Lanzhou keeps this up, the Sus will think we have no class at all. Wenzong's face turned livid. I had just made it out of the complex on my scooter, but I'd already lost her car. Just as I was cursing my luck, my phone rang. A woman's voice came through the line. Boss, I found something on Su Qingyue. She's the second daughter of the Su patriarch. Word is she's violent, cold-blooded and ruthless. That's why she was sent abroad as a child. Everyone thought the Su Empire would go to the eldest son, Su Feishui's father. But she returned unexpectedly last week. Using some brutal high-pressure tactics, she forced the old man to step down and took total control of the Su group. I frowned. Find her contact info in her schedule. I need to track her down. I hung up the phone. This is getting complicated. A woman in her position travels with a security detail. She won't be easy to get to. I shouldn't have opened my big mouth today. Calling her honey probably blew my only lead. I sighed. Then started my beat-up scooter and headed home. I left the city's neon lights behind and rode toward the urban village on the outskirts. When I moved out of the Fang house in middle school, I was broke. This old rental was all I could afford. I just got used to it and never left. As I rounded the corner to my place, an elderly woman in her 80s suddenly darted into the street. I slammed on the brakes, nearly hitting her. At first I thought it was a scam, but I quickly realized something was wrong. She was small and frail, but she was dressed in high-end clothes. She clearly came from money. There was a tag hanging around her neck. It had a phone number on it, and a note if found. Please call this number. A generous reward will be given. Alzheimer's. Poor thing must have wandered off. I pulled out my phone to dial the number, but the dazed woman suddenly reacted. She grabbed my wrist with surprising strength, her cloudy eyes lighting up. Grandson-in-law? It's my grandson-in-law. My jaw dropped. I've been single for 22 years. How did I end up with another secret wife? Is the registry office having a clearance sale today? I couldn't help but laugh. I asked gently, Grandma, who exactly is your granddaughter? She knit her brows, trying to think. What was her name again? Oh, right. Su Qing. She started to say it. Su what? The name she just had vanished the second she tried to speak. She started to panic, her mouth opening and closing. But the words wouldn't come. It's okay, take it easy. Don't worry if you can't remember. I calmed her down and dialed the number. A few blocks away, Su Qingyue was sitting in the back of a Bentley. Her face was grim, and her assistant Lu Hua was terrified to even breathe. This is my fault. I shouldn't have let the old madam out of my sight. Qingyue didn't say a word, but the car was freezing with her silent rage. The grandmother was usually in a daze, but today she'd caught everyone off guard, sent the staff away, and slipped out. Security footage showed she'd actually taken a bus all the way to the outskirts. This area was run down and most streets didn't have cameras. They had to search every inch on foot. Just then her phone rang. She picked up immediately. A calm male voice came through. Hello, I have your elderly relative here with me. The atmosphere in the car turned to stone. It felt like the temperature dropped 10 degrees. Everyone moved at once. One person reached for a phone to call the police while Liu Hua started tracking the signal. Su Qingyue's eyes were sharp as glass. How much money do you want? She asked coldly. Just kidding. The guy's voice sounded incredibly smug. I just wanted to remind you to take better care of her. Then I gave her my address. I gave them the address and hung up. Liu Hua let out a sigh of relief. That guy was a real piece of work. Su Qingyue narrowed her eyes slightly. Something about that lazy voice on the phone sounded strangely familiar. 5 minutes later, they arrived at the location, but the guy who called was already gone. Only a police officer was there waiting with the old woman. Grandma Su Qingyue asked, how did you end up all the way out here? I came to find my grandson-in-law, the old lady said conspiratorially. He lives right around here. Su Qingyue froze for a second. Grandma, she sighed. I don't have a husband. That's not true. I just saw him. That ungrateful boy, the old lady grumbled. He just handed me over to the cops and left. Oh, give me your phone for a second. Su Qingyue handed it over. The old woman pulled up the recent calls and carefully copied the number into her little notebook. She finally had a way to reach her grandson-in-law. Early the next morning, I got a call from my college advisor. When I walked into Professor Liang's office, Fang Boda and Li Ruyan were already there. I narrowed my eyes. Boda and I both go to Haicheng University. It's the best school in the area. Boda got in with top marks. I was already running a company back then and couldn't focus entirely on my studies. Plus, I didn't want to outshine him, so I intentionally kept my scores low. I picked the least popular major energy and power engineering, but I didn't expect the new energy sector to explode 2 years ago. Boda transferred into my department immediately, and we ended up as classmates again. It made sense for Boda to be here. But why was Li Ruyan in my advisor's office? Just then, Professor Liang looked at me with a grim expression. Fang Lanzhou, your grad school recommendation has been revoked. While I stood there in shock, the professor continued, your mother says your character is lacking. She claims your background makes you unfit for the master's program. Is there some kind of misunderstanding between you and your mother? You should apologize to her right now. You have a bright future. Don't throw it all away over a moment of pride. Boda let out a heavy sigh. Professor Liang, my mother is only doing what's best for him. He turned to me. You offended Miss Su. She's made it clear she wants you gone from the city. It took me a second to realize. He was talking about Su Qingyue, but I'd only said a few words to her. Besides, when she left yesterday, she didn't even look that angry. It was much more likely that Boda was just lying again. Boda walked up to me. Lanzhou Dad bought this plane ticket for you. He wants you to go abroad until things blow over. Otherwise, even the Fangs won't be able to protect you. A flash of mockery crossed my eyes. They were just afraid I'd drag the family down with me. When I didn't take the ticket, Boda pulled out a bank card. He looked at me with fake sincerity. Are you worried about how you'll survive out there? There's 50,000 yen on this card. It's from my own personal savings. Take it for now. If you need more, I'll send it once I get my next allowance. The great heir to the Fang family only has 50,000 yuan. I almost laughed. But then Li Ruyan snatched the card out of Boda's hand. Boda, what are you doing? The family is already being more than generous by buying his plane ticket. She looked at me and barked an order. Pack your things and leave the country. I've already processed your withdrawal from the university. I gave her a cold stare. What gives you the right to decide my life? I'm your mother, that's what. Besides, with your grades, you probably never graduate anyway. You're better off finding a job and making some money. Professor Liang immediately tried to intervene. Mrs. Fang, you've got it all wrong. While Lanzhou was at this school, Li Ruyan cut him off. Professor, don't bother defending him. I know exactly what kind of person he is. He only wanted to go to grad school because Boda is. I know exactly who he is. He only wants grad school because Boda's doing it. Take a good look in the mirror. Who do you think you are? You really think you're in the same league as Boda? Professor Liang hesitated, then turned to Fang Boda. As I recall, you didn't qualify for the recommendation, and you didn't take the entrance exams either. Boda gave a subtle, humble smile. I was accepted through a special recruitment track. If an advisor sees potential in a specific student, they can bypass the usual process. Assuming they're a renowned professor, of course. When Professor Liang asked which professor had recruited him, Boda acted modest. It was Dr. Nan. He's the one who successfully developed the new clean fuel and holds the patents. He was recently awarded his doctorate. I looked at him completely blindsided. Dr. Nan. Since when did I agree to recruit Fang Boda? You actually know Dr. Nan? Professor Liang gasped. Boda smiled again. It was a stroke of luck, really. My mother actually funded his education years ago. Once he made a name for himself, he tracked us down. He says my mother saved his life. He's been providing technical support for our family business ever since. I doubt he'd ever say no to me. I raised an eyebrow. Growing up in the Fang house, Mrs. Fang was the only one who looked after me. Once I became successful, I started contacting her under the alias Dr. Nan. I needed a way to pay her back for raising me, so I made up the story about her sponsoring my education. Over the years, whenever her companies had technical issues, I fixed them for free. But I never promised to be at Boda's beck and call. He was laying it on thick. Professor Liang bought it completely. Which university is Dr. Nan with now? Boda replied, I've already promised the dean that I'd invite Dr. Nan to join our faculty. Professor Liang was thrilled. Then he turned to me. Lanzhou, your research is in the same field as Dr. Nan's. I'll introduce you to him when he arrives. If he's willing to put in a good word for you, we might be able to save your grad school spot. Boda put on a look of mock concern. Professor Liang, is that a good idea? The Sus are the richest family in Haicheng. They provide a lot of the funding for our research programs. Professor Liang brushed it off. Dr. Nan is the man of the hour. I heard Harvard and Oxford have already sent him invitations. Every major corporation wants to invest in him. If Dr. Nan steps up, the university will definitely side with him. Boda let out a fake sigh. But Dr. Nan is only doing this as a favor to my mother. He'd do anything to help me, of course. But Lan Zhu is just my father's bastard son. He and my mother don't exactly get along. Tell you what, Lan Zhu, I'll ask Dr. Nan for you. I shut him down instantly. At this point, Boda was acting like a total clown. I let a small smile touch my lips. Professor Liang, you know how I feel, I said. I never really wanted to go to grad school anyway. Professor Liang stood there stunned, his face full of regret. He was the one who saw my talent and practically forced me to apply in the first place. He never thought it would come to this. Fine, he said, his eyes welling up. I'll write you a recommendation letter. Li Ruin scoffed. Don't waste your time. You think you can find a job in this city after offending Miss Su? You're dreaming. Professor Liang snapped. I refuse to believe one person has that much power here. If you can't find a job, you can be my teaching assistant. I felt a surge of gratitude. Professor, I explained Miss Su, and I just had a little misunderstanding. I'll clear it up. Don't worry. Boda clenched his fists. He couldn't understand why a top student like him was being ignored. While Professor Liang only cared about a nobody like Lanzhou, he was seething with rage. He turned to Li Ruyan and said, Lanzhou, are you really going to go back and pester Miss Su? She's a married woman. It's really not right. Predictably, Li Ruyan exploded. Suddenly, she slapped me right across the face. I stared at Li Ruyan in disbelief. I didn't think she'd actually hit me, especially in front of Professor Liang. Li Ruyan didn't look guilty at all. She pointed a finger at my face and snapped, It's been a few years. I think you've forgotten how things work in this family. Apologize to your brother right now. And give me your word you'll never see anyone from the Su family again. The warmth left my eyes as they turned cold and sharp. I told her the other day would be the last time, but clearly she hadn't taken me seriously. Did she still think I was that submissive, ignorant boy who treated Fang Boda like a god? If they won't listen to reason, then I'm not holding back anymore. Boda watched from the side, a surge of smug satisfaction rising in his chest. When we were kids, I bowed and scraped before him. I never talked back, and I never fought back. After I moved out, he ran into me again at the university. Even though I still looked like a penniless loser to him, I finally stood tall. He must have thought a few years without a beating made me forget my place. He was happy to let Li Ruyan remind me. Just as Boda was thinking that, I slowly walked up to him. He smirked, assuming I was about to apologize. Instead, I suddenly looked up and slammed my fist into his face. Boda's head spun. He was completely dazed by the blow. Fang Lenzhou, Li Ruyan screamed as she lunged at me. How dare you hit him? I turned my head slowly. I let out a cold, lethal aura. The look in my eyes made Li Ruyan freeze in her tracks. What? What are you doing? You ungrateful brat. I'm your mother. Are you going to hit me too? My voice was ice cold, each word deliberate. If you won't act like a mother, don't expect me to act like a son. Stay out of my life from now on. If you ever try anything again, I will make sure Boda pays for it twice over. I turned away from her and gave Professor Liang a deep, respectful bow. I thanked him for looking after me these past 4 years and told him that once I handled my business, I'd be back. With that, I turned and walked out without looking back. I was long gone, before Li Ruyan finally snapped out of her shock. As I walked out of the campus gates, Xiaoyu called me. Boss, I've got it. I know why Su Qingyue says she's married, even though she doesn't recognize you. The Su family looks prestigious on the outside, but they've been plagued by internal power struggles for years. The patriarch favors his eldest son's side and wants the main branch to inherit everything. As the youngest daughter, Su Qingyue, has been under constant pressure. A few years ago, the old man picked out a few shady guys for her to force her into a political marriage. It was a massive scandal at the time. It only stopped when Su Qingyue announced she'd already eloped with a man from a normal background. That finally ended the matter. Jiyu chuckled. This mystery husband is actually pretty interesting. He never appears in public, and he's never attended a single Su family event. Based on everything I've found, there's only one logical explanation. Jiyu paused for dramatic effect, trying to play it up. But before he could say it, it all clicked for me. Did you find her schedule and contact info? Jiyu choked on his words, startled. Yeah. I'll send her schedule for the next few days. Right over to you. Her private number is completely unlisted, though. That's fine. I'll just track her down. For someone in Su Qingyue's position, a private number is a state secret. It makes sense. Jiyu immediately pivoted back to gossip. She's always surrounded by bodyguards. You can't just walk up to her. Are you planning to go in guns blazing or keep it low-key? A smirk played on my lips. I stood in front of the Su Group headquarters, smoothed out my courier uniform and walked inside holding a package. I told the receptionist, I have a delivery for Miss Su. It requires a personal signature. She called the executive office and then cleared me to take the private elevator. I rode it to the top floor of the 88th. When the doors opened, the entire city stretched out before me. An entire department, over 100 people. All work here just to support Su Qingyue. I followed the secretary who met me downstairs and made it to the executive office without a hitch. I knocked on the door. Come in, a pleasant voice called out from inside. Just as I thought I was finally going to see her, someone stepped in and blocked my path. It was Lu Hua, her assistant. He looked me up and down. Mr. Fang. His face darkened instantly. He clearly remembered me bothering Su Qingyue at the Fang house yesterday. She had let me slide then, but today I had the nerve to show up at her office, disguised as a delivery guy just to harass her. He gestured for 2 security guards to come over. What is this? Are we not checking IDs anymore? Since when do we let every stray dog up to the penthouse get him out of here now? I didn't blink. What's the problem? Does the Su Group have something against delivery drivers? Liu Hua let out a cold laugh. Nice try turning this around on us. We respect every profession. But are you actually a courier? Where's your employee, you dumb? Before he could even finish the sentence, I held up my badge right in front of his face. I do actually, I said with a smirk. He froze. Then something occurred to him, and he sneered. Let me guess you just registered today. I flipped the badge open to show the registration date. Lu Hua stared at it stunned. You've been a courier for 8 years. Is there a law against working your way through school? I turned toward the door and called out lazily, Miss Su, are you ready to do your part so I can get back to work? Let him in, her voice echoed from inside. I gave Lu Hua a provocative look. He looked like he was about to blow a fuse, but I just brushed past him and walked in. Su Qingyue's office was minimalist and elegant, all blacks, whites, and grays. It felt completely clinical and cold. She finished signing a document, then finally looked up. Her eyes were bright, but they didn't betray a single emotion. I pointed at the slip. Miss Su, I need a signature right here. Her gaze lingered on me for a second, before she took the pen and signed. Then I dropped the bombshell. Miss Su, you aren't actually married, are you? Her pen stopped mid-stroke. She looked up, her icy gaze locking onto mine. I knew right then I was right. When we registered at the Civil Affairs Bureau, the forms had to be filled out by hand. There's no way the records are wrong. She tells everyone she's married, yet she has no idea who I am. Based on GU's investigation, there's only one possibility. Su Qingyue invented a fake husband, just to get her family off her back about marriage. She never actually stepped foot in that bureau, which is why she has no idea we're legally husband and wife. Miss Su, I said seriously, I know how crazy this sounds, but we really are married. Su Qingyue leaned back, composed and elegant, a hint of amusement on her face. Mr. Fang, don't waste your breath. Even if I were single, I'd never marry you just to get back at Su Feishui. I was stunned. She knew about my history with Feishui and thought I was using her for revenge. That's why she refused to believe a word I said. Look, this has nothing to do with Su Feishui, I explained. I'm just here to get a divorce. I'm not interested in your personal drama, she said, cutting me off. She finished signing with a flourish and handed back the slip. Stop harassing me. Don't make me regret being nice to you. I started to lose my cool. Nice, you've already been anything but. You're the one telling people you'll run me out of town. Su Qingyue frowned. I never said. She didn't get to finish. Her phone suddenly rang. It was the special ringtone for her grandmother. She answered immediately. It was the nurse on the other end. Miss Su, my grandmother is missing again. Su Qingyue rushed out of the building in a panic. I tried to follow her to finish our conversation, but Liu Hua blocked me again. Mr. Fang, I'm warning you, let it go. I sighed and let them escort me out of the Su Group, then started my long walk home. As I pulled up to my door, I suddenly sensed someone behind me and turned around. It was the same old woman I'd run into before. She was tiptoeing along, trying to sneak around behind me. I looked at her completely helpless. Just as I was about to say something, the old lady grabbed my wrist in a vice grip. Grandson-in-law, you're not leaving me behind again. Inside my apartment, she sat at the table and downed 3 glasses of water. I tried to be serious. I'm really not your grandson-in-law. But she was stubborn. She just hugged her glass and gulped down a 4th one. Knowing I couldn't reason with her, I pulled out my phone and dialed. The same number from last time. It picked up on the first ring. Hello. The woman's voice sounded vaguely familiar. Before I could speak, the old lady snatched the phone out of my hand. Meanwhile, Su Qingyue was nearby with a search party. She looked calm on the outside, but she was frantic. Her grandmother didn't just have Alzheimer's. At 87, her organs were failing. She was a walking medical emergency. The moment her phone rang, Qingyue answered. Then she heard her grandmother's voice sounding surprisingly energetic. Don't you dare come get me, you brat. I'm with my grandson-in-law. The grandson-in-law. The number was the same boy's from before, so she was with him again. Su Qingyue's face darkened. Where are you? I'm not telling. You think I can't find you? Stay away and don't you dare track me down. Don't even think about sending people after me. Su Qingyue rubbed her temples. She covered the mic and whispered to the doctor, asking about her grandmother's condition. Can we bring her back by force? The doctor shook his head and whispered back. We can't risk agitating her right now. It's best to just play along. Besides, that boy didn't seem like a bad person. Su Qingyue sighed defeated. She spoke back into the phone. Grandma, I still need to bring you your medicine. No, you don't. I have it with me. Just relax and wait for me to bring my grandson-in-law home. The old lady hung up before she could reply. She handed the phone back to me with a proud look. It's all settled. I stared at her. What kind of family was this? They were really just going to leave an old woman with a total stranger I was about to call back. When my phone chimed, someone was requesting to add me on WeChat. The message read, "It's the granddaughter." I accepted the request. She sent a message immediately. Please look after my grandmother for a while. She's in poor health and can't be under any stress. I scoffed. I started typing a cold response. This isn't a charity. It's not a good time. I'm not running a nursing home. But before I could hit send, I heard a noise in the kitchen. I hurried over and found the old woman boiling eggs. You must be hungry, I said. But you need more than just eggs. She turned around, a warm, kind smile spreading across her wrinkled face. My dear grandson-in-law, we're going to use these to bring the swelling down on your face. I froze. I hadn't even realized it. But after my own mother hit me today, even though I pretended it didn't hurt, I had been walking around in a daze, feeling completely detached from the world. But the old woman's words melted the ice around my heart. My eyes softened. I looked down at my phone again and saw. A wave of orange suddenly filled the chat window with the granddaughter. You have received $300,000. The note read, this is for the first week's expenses. Let me know if you need more. I looked at the message I had started to type, then deleted it and wrote fine by me. I wasn't sure why I was suddenly getting involved, but I figured it was because she was overpaying me. Boda, we shouldn't be ungrateful, Li Ruyan said. Dr. Nan has done so much for this family and the company over the years. Fang Boda didn't seem surprised at all. Haicheng University is the best school around, he replied. Maybe Dr. Nan actually wants to go there himself. We can help pull some strings and get him a position. Consider it a way to pay him back for all his help. Mrs. Fang thought that sounded reasonable. She pulled out her phone and opened WeChat. I'll ask him then. Boda sat down next to his mother. Dr. Nan has done more than enough to clear any debt to us. Any lingering obligation was settled a long time ago. Don't you think the family should host a dinner for him? It'd be better to ask him about the university in person. Dr. Nan never said no to Mrs. Fang. Boda knew that if he showed up, he could ask to be his grad student, and the doctor would never refuse. Mrs. Fang was convinced. She sent a message to the doctor Xiao Nan. Do you have time to stop by the house when I saw the message? My heart skipped a beat. Why did Mrs. Fang want to see me all of a sudden? Was her health failing? I remembered how badly she'd been coughing. Panic set in. I stood up to head out. I'm free. I can come over now. But as I was rushing toward the door, another message from her popped up. No need. Are you working late today? I just wanted to treat you to a casual dinner. I realized I'd overreacted out of worry. But dinner at the Fang house. A bitter smile touched my lips. When I first moved out 10 years ago, I went back that first weekend. I stood in the yard and looked through the window at Mrs. Fang, Boda and Fang Wenzong laughing and talking. Mrs. Fang had a glow on her face that I had never seen before. Li Ruyan had said, see, without you, they're actually a happy family of 3. If you really care about her, stay away and stop ruining it. I had walked away quietly that day. For years, I only ever left a small gift at the front door on her birthday. After all this time, I supposed it was time we finally met. I typed back, it should be my treat. Saturday at 6 o'clock, I'll see you then. I sent her the location of a restaurant. She agreed happily. Going to their house would only lead to another fight, so meeting in public was better. I could just have a quiet conversation with her and see for myself how she was doing. I closed the chat with Mrs. Fang and saw a few more messages from the granddaughter. She'd sent a list of instructions for taking care of her grandma. I looked over at the old woman, then quietly walked up to her. I recorded a short video to send back to the granddaughter. On a quiet street nearby, two high-end unmarked vans were parked. Su Qingyue was inside working on her laptop. Her phone chimed with a WeChat notification. She picked it up to check, and for the first time her icy expression showed a flicker of genuine surprise. Did something happen to the old lady, the doctor asked? Qingyue bit her lip and showed him the video. In the clip, her grandmother was sprawled out on floral bedsheets, fast asleep. She was even snoring a little. It was only 9 p.m. Usually her grandmother wouldn't fall asleep until at least 100 in the morning. This was a miracle. The doctor was floored. She really reacts differently to that boy. If he stays with her, her health might actually improve. Qingyu's gaze turned thoughtful, as if she were weighing her options. The next morning, I got another message from her. As we went back and forth, the conversation felt different. It made Qingyu feel like she was talking to an old friend. Talking to her was surprisingly easy. Suddenly she asked, "Can I come see my grandmother tonight?" "Of course. You're welcome anytime." I sent her the address. Su Qingyue noted it down. "Thanks for having me." She knew she had to bring the family doctor tonight to give her grandmother a proper checkup. She wouldn't be able to rest otherwise. When I didn't reply right away, she got the impression that I wasn't a fan of formal pleasantries. Outside, I was bored while waiting for my table, when I heard a familiar voice. I turned around and saw a face I knew all too well. It was Su Qingyue. The face that was usually warm and kind was now glaring at me with pure contempt. Back in college, I was a loner, a total outsider. Su Qingyue had been bright and outgoing. She was always by my side, and she was the only friend I had. But things were complicated between us now. I hesitated for a moment. "Can I help you?" Su Qingyue let out a harsh laugh. "Boda told me everything about your family. Why did you hide it from me? I despise homewreckers and bastards more than anything yet. I was stupid enough to chase after someone like you for 4 years. Was it fun for you?" My heart suddenly felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. I knew her parents didn't have a happy marriage, and that her father had an illegitimate daughter. All it took was for Boda to reveal my background, to shatter 4 years of friendship. I took a step back to put some distance between us. She stepped forward, demanding, "You don't have anything to say for yourself, like what? Explain why I'm illegitimate or why I chose." To be born to a woman like Li Ruyan, I gave a self-deprecating laugh. I didn't finish the thought and turned to walk away. We clearly didn't see eye to eye anymore. If she looked down on me because of my birth, then she wasn't someone I needed in my life. My cold dismissal made Su Qingyue even more agitated. As she watched me walk away, a sudden wave of panic hit her. Without thinking, she grabbed my wrist. "You can't just leave," I turned back. "What now?" Her face was tense. She found my cold, detached attitude heartless. Her anger flared, mixed with a strange sense of being wronged. I was the one who walked away first, she thought. Why does it feel like he's the one abandoning me? Shaking off that thought, she sneered at me again. "Since you're still working these odd jobs, I assume you haven't found a real career yet. Why don't you come work as my personal assistant?" I pulled my arm away and gave her a cold refusal. "I'm not interested." But she wouldn't let it go. "It's not real work. I have an apartment near the office. You'll just live there and take care of whatever I need. Is $50,000 a month enough for you?" My expression went cold instantly. "You want me to be your kept man?" She laughed. "I'm sure you'd be great at it. After all, your mother was a mistress. You grew up watching her. It's in your blood. I bet you're a natural." At that, I shoved her hand away, sending her stumbling to the ground. I looked down at her. "That's enough." She stood up laughing instead of getting angry. Her eyes were dark and obsessive. "Fang Lanshu, you're going to end up as someone's toy sooner or later. If that's your fate, why not choose me? At least I'll be gentle with you. For old time's sake, I'll give you time to think about it. If you change your mind, you know where to find me." She turned and walked away. I let out a hollow laugh. As I turned back, I saw Su Qingyue standing by the door of her private room. She hated these social events and had made an excuse to leave with Liu Hua. but she hadn't expected that the moment she stepped out, she'd witness that entire scene in the hallway. Her gaze was deep and unreadable, hiding whatever she was thinking. Luhua looked at me, clicking his tongue. I knew it, he said. I always wondered why you didn't get a steady job after graduation. You're always juggling so many part-time gigs. So Su Qingyue has been breathing down your neck this whole time. I just stared at him, completely lost. Lu Hua sighed again. He felt for me. So you had no choice but to harass the boss. I get it. In this city, almost no one dares to cross the Su family. I narrowed my eyes. I didn't bother correcting him. It had been 2 days and this was the first time. We'd actually had a civil conversation. Lu Hua turned to his boss. Maybe we should help him out, poor kid's had it rough. I felt a glimmer of hope. Yes, exactly. Help this poor kid out. Just come to the Civil Affairs Bureau and sign the divorce papers. My company's waiting to go public after all. But as soon as the thought crossed my mind, Su Qingyue spoke up coldly. Why would I upset Su Qingyue over someone so insignificant? She brushed past me and walked away. Poor kid. When she looked into my eyes, all she saw was suppressed cunning and joy. There wasn't a pathetic bone in my body. To her, I was just plain obnoxious. Besides the fact that I'd tracked down her personal schedule, proved I was more than capable of taking care of myself. The hallway went quiet. I stood there alone. Su Qingyue was cold-blooded. Fine, but I had an elderly woman at home. I couldn't stay out all night. I'd try to track her down again tomorrow. That evening, Su Qingyue left work on time and headed to the old apartment complex in the suburbs. Carrying some fruit, she found the unit from the WeChat address and knocked on the door. A familiar voice called out from inside. Coming, coming. The door swung open. Su Qingyue looked at her grandmother. She looked remarkably healthy. She finally took a look around. It was just a small 2-bedroom, 60-square-meter place, but it was spotless and cozy. Then she heard the sound of running water in the bathroom. Is he in the shower? Su Qingyue looked away instantly like she'd been shocked. She felt a wave of awkwardness. The family doctor was right behind her, but she stopped him at the door. Give me the equipment. Wait in the car. She did a quick check on the old woman's blood pressure, blood sugar, and heart rate, maybe because she'd slept so well the night before. All her vitals were perfect. The old woman beamed. My grandson-in-law has been taking such good care of me, seeing was believing. Su Qingyue finally felt at ease. She glanced toward the bathroom again, then packed up the equipment. Since you're fine, I should get going. Grandma was taken down. You're not staying for dinner. He's an amazing cook. It's not really convenient. Su Qingyue set the medical device down. Keep this here. The old lady's eyes twinkled. Take it with you. He doesn't know how to use that thing. And I don't want Dr. Fang coming around anymore. I want you to come check on me every day. If her granddaughter came by every day, she'd have to see her husband. They could spend some time together and finally stop living apart. The old lady felt like she could already see her great-grandkids. Su Qingyue was about to say something when the water in the bathroom stopped. She stood up abruptly. She grabbed her bag and bolted for the door. I'm leaving. Make sure you come back tomorrow. The moment the door clicked shut, I walked out of the bathroom fully dressed. Where's your granddaughter? She left. Said it wasn't convenient. She's just too stiff, always acting so serious. Is that why you don't like her? She can change, you know. I'm not your grandson-in-law. Yes, you are. I felt so helpless. After spending the last 2 days with her, I realized that the old lady was very kind. She let me have my way with everything, except for this one topic. She was stubborn about that. A few days later, she suddenly said she needed to go home to get some clothes. So I messaged the granddaughter for the address. But when I pulled up the location, I froze. Number 1 Estates. Isn't this the Su family's place? The entire development spans 3,000 acres, and the Su estate alone takes up over 2,000 of them. It's the most famous wealthy neighborhood in Haicheng. I thought she lived in one of the smaller villas. I never dreamed she was part of the Su family. When we arrived, I looked up at the massive black gates with their intricate patterns and traditional design. Grandma, this is your house. She looked sleepy and confused. Her gaze was a bit vacant. Grandson-in-law, I can't remember. Having no choice, I messaged the granddaughter. She replied immediately, wait right there. I'm on my way. As we had driven in, I noticed that the nearest neighbor was at least a 5-minute drive away. It definitely wasn't a place to wander around. I helped the old lady sit on a nearby stone bench. Suddenly, a luxury car pulled up in front of us. Fang Boda and Li Ruyan got out of the back and rushed over to us. Li Ruyan's brow was furrowed with anger. Fang Lanzhou, I knew it was you. What the hell are you doing here? She was there as a companion for Fang Boda's visit to the Su family. From a distance, she had seen a guy loitering in front of the Su gates. She hadn't expected it to actually be me. Boda looked at the closed gates of the Su estate. Lanzhou, are you here to harass Ms. Su Qingyue again? You little bastard, Li Ruyan barked. Do you have any idea what day it is? Get the hell out of here right now. If you ruin Boda's chance to make a connection, you're dead. As much as I loathe them, I didn't want to start a fight. With the old lady right there, I bit back my annoyance. I'm just taking her home, I explained. I must have taken a wrong turn. Boda blurted out instinctively, isn't that your wife's grandmother? There's no way she lives in this neighborhood. Why not? I shot back. Do you own this place? Boda was speechless, but Li Ruyan started screaming at me. Quit acting. There's no way your pathetic wife's grandmother lives here. She turned directly to the old lady. Hey, old woman, tell me which villa do you live in? I frowned at her tone. Just as I was about to speak, the old lady stood up. I remember now, I live right here. Come on, grandson-in-law, let's go home. She grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the Su family gates. We were still about 100 yards away. After we'd taken a few steps, Boda spoke up. Lanzhou, after all those excuses, you're still using that old lady as a shield. To sneak into the Su house, I stopped in my tracks. I looked ahead at the Su estate. I'd had my suspicions. The moment I saw those magnificent gates, but I couldn't bridge the gap between the polite granddaughter on WeChat and the cold, heartless Su Qingyue. Maybe Grandma was mistaken. I was about to double-check with her when Li Ruyan suddenly lunged forward and tried to grab the old lady. You old fraud, coming here to grift with these lies. Have you no shame? I won't let you cause trouble for the sus. I was startled. I shielded the old lady with one arm and shoved Li Ruyan away with the other. What are you doing? She's an old woman. You can't just manhandle her like that. Li Ruyan stumbled back from the force of the shove. Once she found her footing, the couple immediately started screaming, calling me an ungrateful brat. You'd actually hit your own mother, Li. Ruyan shrieked, all for the sake of that old woman. I'm calling the cops. I'm reporting you for elder abuse. I ignored her and checked on the old lady. She'd never been subjected to such vile verbal abuse. She was trembling with rage. Her hand went to her chest, her body shaking uncontrollably as she started to slump toward the pavement. I caught her just in time and frantically reached into her pocket for her heart medication. But when I popped the cap, the bottle was empty. My heart sank. She was in fragile health. Unless it was absolutely necessary, performing manual CPR could do more harm than good. She needed that medication fast. I looked at those massive gates. The Sus would definitely have medicine. Even if she wasn't part of their family, she was a neighbor. They wouldn't just let her die. I scooped her up. Don't be afraid, Grandma. I'm going to get you some help. But Fang Boda grabbed my arm. Lanzhou, stop it. The Sus aren't going to let you in. He looked at the old lady, a dark, calculating look crossing his face. She looked pale, really bad. He figured she was a goner, and if she died, my wife would never forgive me. I was seeing red. Pure, unadulterated fury boiled over. I kicked him hard enough to send him sprawling, but a second later, something latched onto my leg. Li Ruyan was sitting on the ground, clinging to me like a desperate animal. You think you're the only one who can play the victim? She cried. Watch me. Help, he's killing me. My own son is beating me to death. I'll die right here before I let you. Use this old hag to scam the Su family. I was shaking with rage. But with the old lady in my arms, I couldn't break free without hurting her. Just then, a black Bentley slowly pulled up. Su Qingyue stepped out. What is going on here, Miss Su? It's Lanzhou, Boda blurted out. He's trying to use this dying woman to scam your family. I tried to stop him, I swear. Hearing that, I slowly turned around. The moment she saw her grandmother in my arms, Su Qingyue's eyes widened. She sprinted toward us. She tried to look calm, but she was panicking inside. Her grandmother was the only person left in the world she cared about. Her health had been failing for years, and the doctors had already warned that she might not make it through the year. She couldn't lose her. I saw her coming and realized the truth, but there was no time for that now. She's having a heart attack, I shouted. She's out of her medication. If we get her some now, she'll be okay. Su Qingyue bit her lip. She took her grandmother from my arms and ran into the estate without looking back. I couldn't follow. Li Ruyan still had her arms wrapped around my leg. Boda stared at Su Qingyue retreating back confused. A sudden sharp sense of dread washed over him. Could that old lady actually be the Su matriarch? No, that's impossible. Why would she be with Fang Lanzhou? She's supposed to be the grandmother of Lanzhou's low-life wife. Li Ruyan finally let go. I stood up and brushed the dust off my clothes. Ms. Su was just panicked, she muttered. She didn't want someone dying on her doorstep. The Sus can't afford a scandal like that. It would look terrible. She glared at me. You were banking on that, weren't you? Using that old woman to force your way in. Boda frowned, thinking it through. She's right. There's no way Lanzhou's deadbeat wife could be Su Qingyue. He was just overthinking it. Then the Su gates opened again, and Su Feishui stepped out. Fine, a bastard and a thug, you're a perfect match. Feishui, he said, beaming. You should have just waited for me in the parking lot. What are you doing out here at the gate? Su Feishui looked annoyed. Boda had texted her saying he was almost there, but that he had too many gifts to carry, so he asked her to come help him. She'd waited in the lot for ages, but he never showed. Finally, she decided to come out and look for him. That's when she spotted me. Her frustration vanished instantly. She masked her irritation and forced a sweet, gentle tone. It's your first time visiting the estate, she told Boda. I was afraid you'd get lost. Boda ran over to her looking ecstatic. You're the best feng shui, he tentatively asked as the Su matriarch home. Great-grandma hasn't been feeling well lately. She's been resting inside. She stays in her own private wing and doesn't like to be disturbed. Feng Shui gave the answer dismissively, but Boda took it as gospel and let out a sigh of relief. Feng Shui turned her gaze toward me completely unshielded. She didn't want to miss a single flicker of emotion on my face. She was looking for jealousy, envy, or even a hint of resentment, but all she saw was cold indifference. My mind was on the old lady. I didn't care about their little public display of affection. At this point, I was practically certain the granddaughter was Su Qingyue. I stared at the gates, wondering if the guards would block me if I tried to enter. Suddenly, a shadow fell over me. Feng Shui was standing right in my face. Have you finally come to your senses, Lanzhou? She asked. I glared at her, remaining silent. Feng Shui gave a cold, mocking laugh. Her words were venomous. If you've changed your mind, just call me. Who gave you permission to come to the Su estate? A bastard like you doesn't belong inside these gates. But if you really want a tour, I suppose. Boda interrupted her before she could finish. Feng Shui, you've got it all wrong. Lanzhou is here for his wife's grandmother. The old lady just had a heart attack. Miss Su Qingyue carried her inside for emergency help. Feng Shui froze. Wait, his wife, Boda nodded. That's right. I haven't had a chance to tell you yet, but Lanzhou got married. Feng Shui's eyes welled with tears. She gritted her teeth. Who is she, Lanzhou? She looked like a wife catching her husband cheating. I looked at her with pure disgust. It's none of your business who my wife is. Like hell it isn't, Feng Shui screamed. I want to see this woman. Nobody marries you. Without my say-so, Boda chimed in quickly. His mother says she's just some low-life thug. Feng Shui clenched her fists, her words spiraling out of control. Is this how you ruin your life? Fine. A bastard and a thug, you're a perfect match. Boda continued to pour fuel on the fire. He must be pretty desperate, though. That's why he's always stalking Miss Su Qingyue. I gave a cold, mocking laugh. Boda, you call yourself an heir, but your mind is stuck in the gutter. Is that all you think about? Boda's face stiffened. He balled his fists and let out a theatrical sigh. I know you're only doing this to get back at Fei Shui and me, but Su Qingyue is already married. You shouldn't be trying to wreck someone else's home. Fei Shui was livid. She'd been waiting for my call the past 2 days, thinking that if I begged for forgiveness, she might actually cut me some slack. But it turned out I'd already found a replacement. The thought made her blood boil. Now I get it. No wonder your wife's grandmother was at our gate. You were using her to get to my aunt. God, Lanzhou, have you no shame? She was fuming. She pointed at me and barked an order to the guards. Did you see him? Remember this face? He is never to set foot on this property again. Boda looked down, hiding a triumphant smirk. Even if she wasn't the head of the house, Su Feishui still had enough power to ban me. A moment later, the Su family's head butler stepped out from behind the gates. He scanned the crowd slowly, before walking straight up to me. Mr. Fang Lanzhou, Ms. Qingyue has invited you inside. Boda froze. Fei Shui stood there, jaw dropped. I looked up and gave the guard a mocking sideways grin. So can I go in now? The guard stole a nervous glance at Fei Shu and threw open the gates without hesitation. He knew exactly who really called the shots in this house. Once I was inside Fei Shui, and her group followed close behind. Li Ruyan glared at me. Ms. Su Qingyue probably just wants you to pick up your grandmother. Take her and get out of here as fast as you can. Don't let a stray like you ruin the Su family's carpets. As she finished her sentence, the group walked into the living room where the Su matriarch was already seated. In the place of honor on the sofa, the old lady glared at them. You horrible woman. Who are you calling a stray? She had changed into elegant clothes, but her face was still pale. Su Qingyue sat to her left, looking cold as ice. Li Ruyan froze in her tracks. Boda's legs went weak and he nearly collapsed. Luckily, Fei Shui caught him. What's wrong with you? She whispered. Boda's hands were shaking. He had spent months trying to climb into the Su circle, meticulously planning how to suck up to every single elder in the family. And now, before he'd even officially entered the house, he had managed to offend the matriarch. He let out a bitter, forced laugh. Lan Zhou, why did you lie to us? You told us she was your wife's grandmother? You made us disrespect her, I immediately felt. Several suspicious glares shift toward me. Li Ruyan caught on. You knew she had dementia, and you dared to trick her. What do you think this house is? Get on your knees and apologize right now. My gaze darkened. So they were going to pin the whole thing on me. Boda was playing the victim perfectly. Suddenly, the old lady threw her teacup at Li Ruyan. It hit her square in the chest, drenching her in scalding hot tea. Li Ruyan didn't even dare to scream. You bastard, the old lady fumed. He is my grandson-in-law. Despite the pain of the burn, Li Ruyan managed to stammer, Ma'am, he's lying to you. I'm positive his wife is just some lowlife. There's no need to argue. Why don't we just ask her? Fei Shui's mother spoke up. Qingyue, is he really your husband? I looked at Su Qingyue, waiting for her answer. Then I heard the response I expected. No. What an ungrateful woman. A flash of anger crossed my eyes. Boda, however, looked ecstatic. Li Ruyan breathed a sigh of relief. I knew Lanzhu was behind all of this. I let out a cold laugh and was about to speak, but Su Qingyue continued. Grandma has him confused with someone else. So I asked Mr. Fang to help take care of her. For a while, the room went dead silent. Nobody had seen that coming. After a moment, Boda looked down. Oh, I see. Lanzhu, why didn't you just tell us the truth? We could have avoided this whole misunderstanding. Mr. Fang, Boda. Su Qingyue leaned back on the sofa. Her posture was relaxed, but her voice commanded the room. Hiding and shifting blame the second things go wrong. Is that how the Fangs raise their children? The old lady caught her drift. She snapped at them. Fine, do you think because I'm old I can't see your little games? You make a mistake, you refuse to admit it, and then you try to scapegoat someone else. You two are absolutely shameless. The matriarch looked directly at Fei Shui. Call off the engagement. I won't have him as a grandson-in-law. Boda's entire world crumbled. He had worked so hard for this marriage and now it was over. This can't be how it ends. Boda looked at Fei Shui, but she was staring blankly, her eyes fixed on me. She clearly hadn't processed the news. That I was already married. Boda clenched his fists. He hung his head and walked over to her. Fei Shui, it's my fault. I'm sorry. Don't worry, even if the wedding is off, I'll still get you that introduction I promised. Fei Shui snapped out of it. Boda was still willing to introduce her to Dr. Nan. In the Chinese renewable energy sector, Dr. Nan was at the very top of the field. She quickly turned to her great-grandmother. Grandma, Boda didn't know who you were. It was an honest mistake. Please forgive him. Besides, the betrothal gifts have been exchanged. It's too late to call off the wedding now. The old lady gave her a long look. Do whatever you want. The matriarch knew when to stay out of things. She didn't want to interfere in her great-granddaughter's life if the parents approved. She wasn't going to fight them. But Fei Shui's mother spoke up. Grandma, didn't you forget the traditional gift for the couple? The old lady's expression turned cold and dismissive. I'll have someone wire Fei Shui 180,000. The mother's face stiffened. But didn't you say before that you'd give them a 2% stake in the company to help them get started? If you wanted to know who had the real money in the family, it was the matriarch. She came from a powerful Kyoto family with a massive dowry. Plus, she controlled 20% of the Su Group's shares. Fei Shui's mother had been planning to use this marriage to squeeze a fortune out of the old woman. Everything had been settled, but now the old lady was backing out. The matriarch gave a dry, mocking laugh. I don't like this grandson-in-law, she said defiantly. So I'm not giving them a dime of equity. Boda turned pale. He felt completely humiliated. With so many servants around, word of this would spread fast. Soon all of Haicheng would know that the matriarch despised him. In high society, reputation is everything. The old lady had just taken his dignity and crushed it under her heel, but the old woman didn't care. After dropping that bombshell, she grabbed my hand and led me and Su Qingyue back to her private wing. Once there, she made an excuse to leave, telling Su Qingyue to take good care of her husband. Then she hurried off with her attendants. In the blink of an eye, Su Qingyue and I were the only ones left in the courtyard. The night was pitch black. We stood side by side in silence. I was debating how to start the conversation when Su Qingyue turned to me, her brow furrowed in clear disgust. Your WeChat name is iron deficient. I wasn't about to back down. I looked her in the eye and said, and yours is silly girl. Su Qingyue's face went pale with rage. I can't believe you tricked Grandma into telling you that. You really are a piece of work. She knew Grandma finding him might have been an accident. There was no evidence he'd planned it, but she was convinced he'd only taken the old lady in, because she must have let slip who she really was. I ignored her jab and got straight to the point. You said on WeChat that you'd owe me a favor. Can you come to the Civil Affairs Bureau with me and check my marital status? Su Qingyue's expression darkened even further. Fine, she snapped. Let's go. But if it turns out you're lying, I don't want you using my grandmother to harass me ever again. Suddenly, the old lady poked her head out the window. Girl, are you bullying my grandson-in-law again? Su Qingyue's expression softened instantly. No, Grandma. Dinner was simple. 4 dishes and a soup, just enough for the 3 of us. But the old lady didn't have much of an appetite. She took a few bites and put down her chopsticks. I'm tired, she said to me. Let's go home. Don't push yourself, Grandma. You should rest here tonight. This little wing was essentially a private nursing suite. The room was packed with advanced medical equipment. The old lady gripped my hand nervously. Can you stay here with me? I frowned and glanced at Su Qingyue. Honestly, I was worried about the old lady too. But that woman was so full of herself, suspecting I was using her grandmother to get close to her. There was no way she'd agree. Su Qingyue was silent for a moment. Fine, she said, giving me a pointed look. It was clear she was only doing this for her grandmother and didn't want me getting any ideas. I just scoffed. The old lady beamed. Good, I'm staying wherever my grandson-in-law stays. After dinner, I walked her back to her room. She must have been exhausted. Between the illness and the scene at the gate, she drifted into a restless sleep the moment her head hit the pillow. She seemed troubled even in her dreams. I had no choice but to sit by the bed and keep her company. Outside the window, Su Qingyue looked grave. What's going on with my grandmother? The family doctor, who had studied psychology, let out a heavy sigh. I don't know why. She's so fixated on that boy, but I have a pretty good guess as to why she's so anxious. She's terrified her grandson-in-law will leave. Then the doctor looked Su Qingyue in the eye. I think she feels she won't make it through the year. She's afraid that once she's gone, you'll be all alone. She thinks he's the only one she can leave behind to look after you. Su Qingyue froze. For a second, a wave of emotion surged in her dark eyes before her expression returned to a cold calm. Standing there in the moonlight, she seemed to blend into the shadows behind her. After a long silence, she suddenly turned and strode back toward the main house. Meanwhile, Boda's dinner was going miserably. Because he'd lost that 2% stake in the company, Fake Shui's mother, Liu Meijin, was furious. She hadn't stopped taking jabs at him all night. Isn't Fang Lanzhu just your family's bastard son? How come he can charm the old lady, but you can't? Boda kept his head down. I'm sorry, Auntie. I'm just not as good at playing games as Lanzhou is. Liu Meijin sneered. I don't care how you do it, but you better get that 2% back. Otherwise, don't even think about joining this family. Boda suffered in silence. When dinner finally ended, he prepared to make his excuses and leave. But before he could get out, Su Qingyue walked back in. The room's atmosphere shifted the second she entered. She glanced at the half-eaten food on the table, her face darkening with contempt. Her grandmother couldn't eat a bite tonight, yet they were in here celebrating. Seeing her expression, Liu Meijin didn't dare say a word. It was Fake Shui's father, Su Yuanjie, who finally spoke up. Qingyue, what are you doing here? Su Qingyue ignored her uncle. She turned her gaze to Boda. Since the engagement isn't off, you're technically part of the Su family now, right? Then you'll follow our rules. You disrespected an elder. Kneel in the ancestral hall all night. Without waiting for a response, she waved her hand. Two bodyguards stepped toward him. Mr. Fang, if you please. Boda was stunned. Kneel in the hall all night? A pampered kid like him would never survive that. He looked to Fei Shui for help, but she didn't dare. Challenge the head of the family. He took a deep breath, forced to follow the guards. On his way out, he heard Fei Shui ask her aunt, "What about Fang Lanshou? Has he left yet?" Su Qingyue's answer was a cold warning. "He is my guest. He's staying the night." When Boda reached the hall, the guard stopped him. "Ms. Su said since you aren't married yet, you aren't allowed inside the Su family shrine. You'll have to kneel out here." The ground was made of hard stone bricks. Boda tried to protest, but the guards weren't listening. The two bodyguards stood with their hands behind their backs, staring coldly at Boda. It was late October, and the night air was biting. Boda was shivering uncontrollably. The piercing cold seeped through his knees and into his joints. He tried to shift his weight to take a break, but the guards watched him like stone statues, never breaking their gaze. They didn't say a word yet. The silence was terrifying. To make matters worse, he couldn't stop thinking about me lying in a warm, soft bed. Boda gritted his teeth in pure hatred. He told himself I was just a guest for one night while he would be living in this mansion forever. Besides, he had that meeting with Dr. Nan soon. He just had to play his cards right with the doctor. When I woke up, I was already in bed, with a small pink blanket draped over me. It didn't quite match the old lady's room decor. I didn't think much of it, though. I got up, washed up, and sat down for breakfast with the matriarch and Su Qingyue. There was a plate of fried sugar cakes on the table. The old lady immediately reached for one. Su Qingyue frowned. "Grandma, your blood sugar is high. You shouldn't be eating greasy, sugary things like that." Just as she was trying to figure out how to stop her, I spoke up calmly. "Grandma, those cakes aren't good for you." To her surprise, the stubborn old lady, who usually ignored everyone's advice when it came to food change course midair, she dropped the sugar cake right into my bowl. She gave me a sweet, fawning smile. "Here, I got this for you, grandson-in-law." Su Qingyue was stunned. She gave me a long, searching look, wondering why her grandmother listened to me so easily. I didn't hesitate to start eating the cake. Then I looked at Su Qingyue. "By the way, you'll need your ID and household register for the Civil Affairs Bureau later." The old lady looked up curiously. "What are you two doing at the Civil Affairs Bureau? I lost my marriage certificate. I need it so we can get a divorce." I wasn't just trying to brush her off. It was the truth. But as soon as the words left my mouth, the old lady chimed in. "It's not lost." She scurried into the bedroom and quickly returned with two red booklets. She handed one to me and one to Su Qingyue. I stared at the marriage certificate in shock. Suddenly it clicked. The old lady had called me grandson-in-law the moment we met. She had known we were married all along. Feeling like I'd finally found a lead, I turned to her immediately. "Grandma, how did you end up with these?" She blinked her eyes, turning hazy. I can't remember." "Then how did Miss Su and I get married?" The old lady just shook her head. "I don't know." I started to panic a little. "Grandma, please try to remember." "That's enough," Su Qingyue snapped. She stepped between me and her grandmother, her eyes cold as ice. "Mr. Fang, this has gone far enough. Let me guess. Your next move is to say, we don't need to go to the bureau anymore. So this was your plan all along. You used the divorce as an excuse to hang around me, and then you manipulated Grandma into producing these fakes to make me believe this lie. It's a clever setup. If I hadn't just seen her, hanging on your every word, I might have actually believed you. I could." Sense a faint, dangerous edge in her voice. It was absurd. "Fine, we don't have to go today," I said. "A divorce isn't just about showing up at an office anyway. On paper, we've been married for 2 years. There are assets to divide, and we'll need a formal settlement agreement first." "That's not happening." Su Qingyue watched me closely as she spoke, but I just looked confused. She couldn't tell if I was just an incredible actor who refused to admit defeat or if the certificates were actually real. Suddenly, she felt a flicker of doubt. She grabbed the certificates and headed for the door. "I'll be in the parking lot. Let's go." I gave the old lady a reassuring smile. We reached the parking lot only to find Li Ruyan hovering over Boda. She was fussing over him with a pained expression. Boda looked like a ghost. He was sneezing constantly, his legs shaking from the night in the cold. When Ruyan spotted me, her eyes lit up. "Lanzhou." She hurried toward me, giving Su Qingyue a wide berth as she closed in. "You have to help your brother," she demanded. I raised an eyebrow. I had no idea what these two were still doing here. Had they really waited outside all night before I could answer, Ruyan started her usual lecture. Lansu, I know you're a bastard, but the Fang family never held that against you. They raised you. Even if you don't care about them, you owe them for that. You need to pay them back. Your brother was always so good to you. He let you go to school with him, and he even shared his hand-me-downs with you. And don't forget, when you were born, you were so sickly, we didn't think you'd make it. I didn't have enough milk, so you had to take what belonged to your brother. Just to survive. The Fangs weren't even going to take us in back then. It was only because you and Boda were born on the exact same day that Mrs. Fang and your father let us stay. You owe him everything. You should spend the rest of your life looking out for him. I hadn't heard this script in over 10 years. I thought back to the kid I used to be, the one who actually believed this garbage. I'd worked like a slave for the Fangs, letting Boda treat me like dirt. Now it just felt pathetic. Yes, the Fangs raised me, but providing for a child is a legal requirement. If they'd abandoned me, they'd have been arrested for child neglect. And sure, I went to school with Boda, but I spent the whole time carrying his bags and acting like his personal servant. If Boda so much as coughed, it was my fault for failing to care for him, and Ruyan would beat me for it. I was even forced to fail my classes, so I wouldn't outshine Boda. As for the clothes, my parents never bought me a single thing. I wore Boda's scraps, which meant my sleeves and pant legs were always too short. Once Mrs. Fang actually bought me a new outfit, but as soon as I put it on, Ruyan stripped it off me and gave it to Boda. She said I didn't deserve it. I wasn't allowed to look better than him. In that sickly infant phase, any baby would be weak after being starved for 5 days. The contempt in my eyes deepened, but Ruyan didn't even notice. She just kept going. Now that you're grown, you finally have a chance to pay them back. Lonzo, doesn't the old lady listen to everything you say? Go tell her to give that 2% stake back to your brother. I suddenly laughed. You're right. Ruyan's face lit up, thinking she'd finally gotten through to me. Then I looked her right in the eye. But I'm just a lowly bastard, remember. Why would the matriarch of the Su family listen to me? Ruyan froze, trying to find a comeback, but I just walked past her. I got into Su Qingyue's car and shut the door. Let's go. Su Qingyue looked at me in the rearview mirror. She was about to say the driver wasn't here yet, but seeing Ruyan trying to chase after the car, she climbed into the driver's seat herself. She slammed the door, calmly buckled her seatbelt, and floored it. The black Bentley glided smoothly onto the main road. Su Qingyue kept checking the mirror. The boy was staring out the window, his handsome face completely unreadable. She turned her eyes back to the road. Whatever lecture she'd planned to give him died in her throat. We arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau in record time. As soon as we parked, a frantic voice came from outside. Boss, the driver said you took off on your own. I almost had a heart attack trying to track your GPS. Did something happen? No, Su Qingyue was as brief as ever. Liu Hua looked at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Then why are we here? Don't tell me Fang Lanzhou's stalking is actually getting to you. Don't worry, I told you he'll never get near you again. If he does, I'll eat dirt on a live stream. Before Liu Hua could finish, a lazy male voice drifted over. He froze and slowly turned around. I leaned back with a playful smirk in my eyes. So what's the link to your channel? The three of us entered the bureau and headed straight for the service window. Liu Hua spoke up first. Excuse me? Can someone get a marriage certificate without being here in person? The clerk frowned. Absolutely not. You hear that? Liu Hua shot me a mocking look. Then his eyes fell on the certificate in my hand. He laughed. You even went through the trouble of making a fake unbelievable. I should call the cops right now for forgery and harassment. Su Qingyue ignored him and handed her certificate to the clerk. Could you please verify? If this document is authentic. The clerk gave her a strange look, took the certificate, and started typing into the system. Su Qingyue suddenly felt ridiculous. She knew she'd never been married yet. Here she was acting on some weird impulse. She was even missing an important meeting for this. The clerk looked up with the results. It's real. Su Qingyue went still. Hearing the clerk's words, Liu Hua blurted out, That's impossible. You must have the wrong info in your database. The clerk glared at him. Watch it. Marriage is a serious legal matter. We verify both parties' IDs thoroughly and have them sign a sworn statement. At the mention of the statement, I spoke up immediately. Can we see our signed statement? Bring us the statement, please, Su Qingyue said at the same time. We glanced at each other, then quickly looked away. The clerk sighed and stood up. You two certainly are in sync for a married couple. Fine, let me go find it. He returned a moment later, with our registration file in hand. He pulled out the statement and showed it to us. Looking at the signature, it was definitely my handwriting. Lu Hua hovered nearby, making a scene. Boss, that really is your signature. I thought for a moment, then scanned the room for cameras. Could we see the security footage from the day we registered? Sorry, we only keep those records for 6 months. The clerk then reiterated that both parties must be present to issue a certificate. Their office didn't make mistakes. The three of us eventually walked out defeated. Standing by the entrance, Liu Hua looked lost. Boss, what do we do now? Su Qingyue's eyes darkened. I raised an eyebrow. Divorce. Both of them spoke in unison again. Liu Hua blinked. So? You're doing it now. Do you want to discuss the terms? I'll have my lawyer contact you. Talk to my lawyer. Su Qingyue and I spoke at the exact same time. Again. We both stopped and looked at each other. I let out a dry laugh. How about this? We both have our lawyers draft a proposal. We'll review them first. And if there's an issue, then the lawyers can hash it out. Liu Hua scoffed. Like you can even afford a lawyer. Su Qingyue simply nodded in agreement. I ignored Liu Hua and pulled out my phone. Miss Su, let's get on WeChat. It'll make it easier to coordinate. Su Qingyue hesitated, then gave me a meaningful look as she pulled out her phone. She opened her QR code and I scanned it. A chat window immediately popped up on her screen. The contact name was saved as Dumb Granddaughter. Her face went dark instantly. I froze. I'd completely forgotten that we were already connected on WeChat. Feeling her glare, I coughed awkwardly. I just picked a random name back then. I quickly shielded my screen to change it. I quickly changed the contact name from Dumb Granddaughter to Silly Girl. I gave a casual wave, said see ya, and hopped into a taxi to head home. As they watched me drive away, Liu Hua turned to his boss with a hesitant look. So, you two really are married. Your chemistry back there was a little too good. Su Qingyue shot him a look. Find the best divorce lawyer in town. Have them draft an agreement. I want my external assets fully protected. Liu Hua straightened up instantly. You got it, boss. After a beat, Liu Hua's eyes widened as if he just solved a puzzle. I get it. That guy definitely pulled some strings to make this marriage happen. Now that he knows he can't win your heart, he's going after your bank account. No wonder he's so confident about hiring a lawyer. He's planning to sue you for everything you've got. Even a tiny fraction of your wealth would more than cover his legal fees. Liu Hua gritted his teeth in anger. Don't worry, ma'am. I won't let him touch a single cent of your money. Meanwhile, in the back of the taxi, I was on the phone with Qingyue. Get me the best divorce lawyer money can buy. She's not getting a dime of my assets. Consider it done, Qingyue replied, her voice full of gossip. Boss, what's the deal with this surprise marriage anyway? If Su Qingyue doesn't remember it, and you don't either, did you both get amnesia at the same time? Stop acting like this is a soap opera. I'm just curious. It's so crazy and intense. I wish the government would just hand me a husband like that. I let out a long, silent sigh. After a long pause, I finally spoke. There is one person who definitely knows the truth. You mean the old lady? But I thought she couldn't remember anything. I frowned. Those clinical trials for the Alzheimer's drug. Tell them to speed it up. We're running out of time. I made it back to my apartment a short while later. When I walked into the familiar space, I realized something. This place felt a lot bigger and emptier than it used to. Right then, I saw the old lady standing in the hallway with a suitcase. She was struggling to get inside. Grandson-in-law, you're back. I've been waiting for you forever. I brought a whole bunch of clothes. I paused, a small smile tugging at my lips. That same day at Hai Cheng's top divorce firm, the city's most elite attorney received 2 draft agreements. Both clients had filed anonymously. Both had the exact same demand: my money stays with me, and the other side gets nothing. The terms were incredibly cold. An associate lawyer couldn't help but comment. I've seen some nasty divorces, but this is next-level ruthless. One client is the husband and the other is the wife. I guess both genders can be equally heartless when it's over. The lead attorney had seen plenty of happy couples turn into enemies. He'd seen much worse than this. He chuckled. Perfect. 1 contract, 2 paydays. Get these ready to send to our clients. High up in the douchey group headquarters, Su Qingyue had been buried in work since leaving the bureau. She got a call saying her grandmother had run off to find the grandson-in-law again. It was almost time to clock out. Her grandmother needed daily health checkups to keep her vitals stable. She frowned slightly and reflexively opened WeChat. She found my contact info still saved as iron deficient. She wanted to message me, but she didn't know how to start. Ever since she realized I was the person behind that handle, everything felt off. She scrolled through our old chat logs. We used to talk so casually, like old friends, especially that time she helped me roast someone. Wait, that person I helped her curse out at the restaurant? Was that me? Su Qingyue's face went pale, then dark with anger. Just then her phone buzzed. It was a message from me with the divorce contract attached. Ms. Su, the asset division in this agreement is my final offer. Let me know if you agree. Asset division, so he really is just after the money. Why is he in such a hurry, Su Qingyue wondered. Su Qingyue had just opened the contract when her door swung open. Lu Hua walked in. Boss, I have the results of the investigation into your marriage. As Lu Hua spoke, Su Qingyue opened the divorce agreement I had sent over. She skimmed it quickly. Her eyes landed on the asset division clause and she looked slightly surprised. Seeing her reaction, Lu Hua craned his neck to get a look. He scoffed. This guy is a joke. He's demanding that you don't touch his assets. What exactly does he have to take a maxed-out credit card? Su Qingyue looked down. What did you find out? Well, boss, we confirmed that Fang Lanzhu only found out you two were married a few days ago when he tried to register with his girlfriend. This divorce agreement looks like he just wants out as fast as possible. It seems like he's really not looking for a payout. Lu Hua paused, his tone shifting. But honestly, that makes it even more suspicious. We ran a background check on him, and there's a huge gap in his history since he left the Shu family a few years ago. Don't you think that's weird? Why would an ordinary guy need to hide his tracks? Su Qingyue narrowed her eyes, lost in thought. So you think he's behind all this? Yeah, though what he's actually after is anyone's guess. Lu Hua scratched his head. But since this happened 2 years ago, and we were constantly traveling back then, we don't have much to go on. We might have to wait until your grandmother remembers something. Su Qingyue gave him a cold, dismissive look. Lu Hua quickly bowed his head. I'm sorry. We'll keep digging. Su Qingyue printed 2 copies of the divorce agreement and stood up to leave. Any word from Dr. Knoll? I heard his team is close to a breakthrough on an Alzheimer's drug. Su Qingyue wanted her grandmother to be the first to receive the treatment. Lu Hua lowered his head further. Dr. Knoll is notoriously hard to find. Because of his research, every major biotech firm is hunting him down. He's being extremely cautious. Sensing the chill coming off Su Qingyue, his voice dropped to a whisper. Don't worry, boss. I'll track him down. I had just finished dinner with the old lady when a message from Su Qingyue popped up. I'm downstairs. Come out. I made an excuse about the trash and went down. Sure enough, there was that familiar black Bentley. Inside, Su Qingyue handed me the papers. No objections, then sign it. Her dark eyes were locked on me, clearly expecting me to make an excuse to refuse. Instead, I signed both copies without a second thought. When can we finalize this tomorrow? I asked. Why is he in such a hurry? I was practically dying for this to be over. My company's IPO won't wait forever. Su Qingyue studied me for a moment. Fine. Don't forget, I added. Tomorrow morning, bring your ID, household register, and the marriage certificate. See you at the bureau. Su Qingyue nodded, but her expression suddenly shifted to horror. Behind me, her grandmother had somehow made her way downstairs. She was pale, watching us in shock. She clutched her chest, her voice trembling. You're getting a divorce. Then her eyes rolled back and she collapsed. Outside the VIP ward at the first hospital, the patient is out of immediate danger. The doctor's voice was stern. She cannot handle any more stress. You must not upset her again. Hearing that, I felt a wave of relief that my emergency first aid back there had worked. I still had a bit of lingering fear. I looked over at Su Qingyue. She looked composed, almost completely emotionless. But once the doctor confirmed her grandmother was stable, she reached up to loosen her collar. She sank onto a hallway bench, her hands clasped over her knees, and they wouldn't stop shaking. Suddenly, a nurse called out from the room. Ma'am, you're awake. Su Qingyue rushed into the hospital room. When I followed her, and the old lady's eyes were already open. She looked at me and said hoarsely, Grandson-in-law, I had a nightmare that you and that brat were getting a divorce. That's not true, is it? I stayed silent, but Su Qingyue spoke up. Of course not. Then give me your ID and marriage certificate so you can't leave him. Fine, Su Qingyue agreed, humoring her every wish. The old lady turned her gaze back to me. Grandson-in-law, is she telling the truth? I thought about the doctor's warning. After a brief pause, I nodded. It's true, only then did she look satisfied. Even though it was just an emotional flare-up, she had to stay overnight for observation. Su Qingyue and I stayed in the room to watch over her. As night fell, I sat back on the sofa, writing a technical document in English on my phone. It was my research on the Alzheimer's drug. I was in the final stages, but a technical bottleneck was keeping me from a breakthrough. I needed to dig through some specialized biomedical literature. While I was deep in thought, a message from Silly Girl popped up on WeChat. Mr. Fang, let's wait until Grandma is stable before we finalize the divorce. It was a request I couldn't refuse. The agreement was already signed and our assets were legally separated. Even if I was still technically married, it wouldn't affect my company's IPO. It didn't really matter when we made it official. Fine, I replied. Su Qingyue stared at those two words on her screen, her eyes narrowing. Any other requests, she messaged. Once Grandma is better, just make sure the divorce happens fast. Su Qingyue frowned. She suddenly found this man impossible to read. On the bed, the old lady looked at me, then at Su Qingyue. The two of you barely speak to each other. This won't do. Listen, brat, the old lady suddenly announced. I want you to give my grandson-in-law a job at the Su Group. If you two go to work and come home together every day and see each other all the time, the sparks will eventually fly. Su Qingyue hesitated for a second. Fine. She was being unusually agreeable tonight. The old lady started fretting again. But what job should I give him? She had a sudden spark of inspiration. I'll handle it. Tomorrow you're going to the office with her. I blinked. Okay. It occurred to me that the Su Group's database was massive. They might have exactly the research papers I needed. Su Qingyue had a meeting to get to. After saying goodbye to Grandma, she and Liu Hua headed out. As soon as they hit the hallway, Liu Hua spoke up. No wonder that guy signed the divorce papers so easily. He must have called the old lady downstairs on purpose. He knew she'd never let you go through with it. He looked at Su Qingyue. Boss, he even manipulated her into getting him a job at the company. He's definitely up to something. Why did you agree to it? If I don't keep him where I can see him, how will I ever catch him in the act? A cold light flashed in Su Qingyue's eyes. For Grandma's sake. She couldn't divorce him right now. As for whether he was innocent or not, she'd see exactly what his goals were once he was at the office. Back in the room, I was lying on the sofa when the old lady's voice drifted over. Grandson-in-law, let me tell you a secret. That got my attention immediately. Had she remembered a crucial clue? Like how she met me, or how Su Qingyue and I actually ended up married? Hopeful, I asked Grandma what secret. She leaned in, looking mysterious. Actually, that girl, she has a weakness nobody knows about. I'm telling you now. So if she ever bullies you, you can fight back. I was a little stunned. I didn't really want to know, but the old lady was, clearly in a gossiping mood. Don't let that tough act of hers fool you. She's actually terrified of cats. I froze. This reminds me of an older girl I knew as a kid. She was also terrified of cats, but she was just a child then. I can't believe the cold and distant Su Qingyue is a scaredy cat. The old lady turned back to me. Grandson-in-law, are you a cat person or a dog person? Me, well, I used to like cats, but that girl didn't like them, so I stopped liking them too. I soon realized why Grandma was asking me that. The next day at the Su Group headquarters, a cute little Shiba Inu puppy was wagging its tail and circling my feet. Liu Hua looked on exasperated. Of all the jobs Grandma could have given Mr. Fang, why did it have to be dog-sitting this puppy? Su Qingyue didn't get it either. People say that when you get older, you revert to a child's mindset and you just do whatever makes you happy. But giving him a job playing with a dog, this was beyond ridiculous. Take them to the new energy R&D department, she ordered. He'll be starting in Group 1. She had already planned this out. That department handled the company's core technology, and it was the key to their future growth. By putting me there, she could watch me and see if I'd show my true colors. Liu Hua nodded immediately. I didn't really care what the arrangements were. I picked up the puppy and followed Liu Hua. Does he have a name? Not yet. Grandma wants you to name him. I glanced at Su Qingyue, who was looking grumpy. I smirked. Then let's call him Kitty. You're naming a dog Kitty whatever. We headed to the new energy R&D department. In the elevator on the 38th floor, Liu Hua spoke up. Listen, Mr. Fang, most of the staff in our R&D department hold PhDs. At the very least, they have master's degrees from top-tier universities. You're the first person here with only an undergraduate degree. Try to learn as much as you can from your seniors. It'll be good for your future. The boss specifically arranged this for you. Don't feel like you owe her, though. Consider this your reward for keeping Grandma happy. I felt my lip twitch. This really wasn't necessary. Oh, and about your relationship. The boss wants to keep it a secret. It'll save everyone the drama when the divorce goes through. I looked at him. That's funny. I was worried about the same thing. Lu Hua was stunned. Was this guy actually acting like the boss wasn't good enough for him? He wanted to snap back, but the elevator doors opened. My first day at a desk job was actually quite interesting. Since nobody gave me any work to do, I enjoyed the freedom. I spent some time in my private office playing with the dog. Eventually, Kitty curled up in a corner and fell asleep in a patch of sunlight. I stood up quietly, left the office, and closed the door. I needed to find the Su Group's research database. If I could develop the breakthrough drug for Alzheimer's, Grandma's health would improve, and she might remember something. Maybe then I'd finally understand how this bizarre marriage to Su Qingyue even happened. I asked a coworker for the location of the archive and headed straight there. The company's database was on the 60th floor. It was actually a massive private library. Only employees were allowed inside. The books covered knowledge from every industry, including R&D data that was impossible to find in the outside world. I felt a surge of excitement. My gut told me that what I was looking for was right here. Meanwhile, on the top floor, Su Qingyue was clearing a backlog of files when her phone buzzed. It was a WeChat message from Grandma. You need to have lunch with my grandson-in-law today. And remember to send me a photo of the two of you eating together. Su Qingyue frowned. She was about to use a meeting as an excuse to say no, but then she saw Grandma's profile update. Her display name had changed from Grandma Su to Fragile Grandma Who Must Not Be Stressed. Su Qingyue went silent. She stared at that contact name for a long time. Finally, she let out a helpless sigh. She hit the call button on the side of her desk. Liu Hua walked in immediately. What are your orders, boss? Have 2 lunches sent up. Then Su Qingyue sent a message to Iron Deficient telling me to come to the top floor for lunch. But even after the food was set out on the table, I still hadn't replied. Su Qingyue stood up. Where is he? You mean Mr. Fang? He's in the archives. Su Qingyue went down to the 60th floor and began searching through the rows of bookshelves. She soon spotted me, along with Su Feishui, who was staring me down. I was so absorbed in my books that I hadn't felt my phone vibrate. This database contained some of the most advanced technical data in the world. I was in heaven. I lost track of time wandering the aisles, and when I stepped back, I bumped into someone. Sorry. I turned around to find a familiar face. Su Feishui was glaring at me with a complicated expression. Fang Lensho, did you work this hard to suck up to my great-grandma? Just to get close to my aunt? My expression instantly went cold. That's none of your business. But Su Feishui kept going. My aunt, she hasn't let a man get close to her in years. Don't think you can seduce her just because of your face. She's not that shallow. She only gave you some meaningless throwaway job to get you out of her hair. I scoffed. Are you saying the only reason you chased me for so long back then was because you were shallow? Su Feishui choked on her words. I looked at her. She had been my only friend in college. I had actually considered a future with her. When she said she had a surprise for me at graduation, I even wondered if I should accept her proposal. I never imagined we'd end up like this. I sighed. Su Feishui, can't we just move on with our lives? No. Su Feishui's eyes instantly welled up. I know you hate me for choosing Fang Boda, but I didn't have a choice. There are so many factors in a high society marriage. I fought for you. I even got my mom to agree to let me be with a commoner. But your background, regardless of how I feel, I couldn't marry an illegitimate son. How could I ever hold my head up in the Su family? I'd be the laughingstock of the entire city. I looked at her. Growing up, I also thought my background was something to be ashamed of. But when I left the Fang family, I realized that a man's worth comes from his own self-respect. I looked away. Thanks for not marrying me. I tried to walk past, but Su Feishui blocked my path. I can get you a job at our subsidiary. I'll find the best people to train you. I know you're ambitious. You're smart, so you'll learn fast. You'll be running things in no time. And you'll never have to work odd jobs again. I interrupted her rambling. What's the catch? Get a divorce and come back to me. Su Qingyue couldn't stand another woman having what was hers. The mere thought of it drove her crazy. I replied icily, you're not worth it. Why do you love that low-life wife of yours so much I could offer her a pile of cash or have someone scare her off? Either way, she'd dump you in a heartbeat. How could she possibly compare to me? I didn't hesitate. I slapped her. Even that didn't feel like enough. I looked at Su Qingyue with pure indifference. I didn't want to hurt your pride, but since you won't let it go, I'll tell you the truth. My wife is prettier than you, and she has a better body too. I turned to walk away and saw Su Qingyue standing at the corner. I went silent. Su Qingyue didn't say a word either. Su Qingyue stood there, her expression dark with malice, her fists clenched tight. One day she'd make me come crawling back to her in tears. One day he'll be begging me for mercy. He took a deep breath. Once the swelling in his face went down, Fang Boda dialed the phone. Aren't you having lunch with that doctor tomorrow? I'm coming with you. Meanwhile, Su Qingyue used lunch as an excuse. To bring me up to the top floor, we entered her office and she pointed to the dining table. Go ahead and eat. I felt a little guilty. Looking at her, I wondered if she'd overheard what I said. Just as I was thinking about it, I heard a camera shutter click. Su Qingyue calmly finished taking the photo and sent it via WeChat to Grandma, whose name was now Fragile Grandma, who must not be stressed. Then she walked over. I knew why she was taking pictures, so I didn't ask. I just looked at the table trying to make small talk. You have quite the spread here, Ms. Su. She sat down across from me, picking up her chopsticks with grace. Proper nutrition is the only way to maintain a good figure. I froze. My face felt hot. My eyes drifted briefly over her pale skin, and then I started packing up one of the meals. Miss Su, I just remembered I haven't fed Kitty yet. I should go. I picked up the food. Thanks for lunch. Her face stiffened for a second, which made my day. Before I knew it, it was time to clock out. I grabbed the puppy and left the top floor. After finishing her work for the day, Su Qingyue checked the time and got ready to head home. Where are we going, boss? Liu Hua asked. She paused. She realized she hadn't asked where Grandma was staying. She called the old lady. Whose house are you at Grandma's? Answer was unexpected. I'm at the hospital. Su Qingyue frowned. Didn't the doctor say you were clear to go home? My chest started hurting again this afternoon. I want to stay for a few more days. Are you coming to stay with me tonight, brat? It's fine if you don't. I'm just a lonely old woman. No one cares about me anyway. Just leave me here to suffer in my hospital bed. If I wake up thirsty in the middle of the night, I'll just deal with it. Life is so hard. I'm on my way. That's more like it. Oh, I already told my grandson-in-law. He's coming to stay with me too. You two should come together. After hanging up, Su Qingyue rubbed her temples. She knew exactly what Grandma was up to. Whether they stayed at the Su estate or my place, they'd end up in separate rooms. But if they both stayed at the hospital, they'd be forced to spend more time together. But Fang Lanzhou has a girlfriend. She bit her lip, wanting to keep her distance. But thinking of Grandma's health, she forced herself to send me a text. I'll pick you up after work and we'll go to the hospital. I replied surprisingly fast this time. No need. I'm already in a cab. On my way there. He's certainly staying away from me. At least he isn't using Grandma's favoritism to overstep his bounds. She should have been happy, but for some reason she felt even more annoyed. I wasn't overthinking it. Until I found out the truth. About our marriage, I didn't want anything to do with Su Qingyue. This mess was almost certainly caused by her side of the family. After all, I'm just a nobody. Why would anyone target me? I walked into the inpatient building with the Shiba Inu and headed toward the VIP wing. Nearby, Mrs. Fang Nanjinshu had just finished her checkup. Fang Boda held her arm as they both watched me walk away. Was that Lanzhou? She asked hesitantly. Why is he at the hospital? Is he sick? Fang Boda felt a surge of anger. The Su family all knew the old lady was hospitalized, but she was stubborn and refused to see anyone. He had tried to visit her earlier that day, but was turned away at the door. He hadn't even caught a glimpse of her. If Fang Lanzhou was here now, he was definitely there to see that old woman. He's probably sucking up to her right now. His eyes flickered toward the distance. He's probably here to see the old lady. Lanzhou always was the filial type. As soon as she said that, the family nanny. Nanny Nan chimed in with a huff. Filial, please. I don't see him coming around to visit you, ma'am. Nanny Nan was in her 50s. over a decade older than Nan Jinshu. She had never married, dedicating her life to caring for Mrs. Fang. Mrs. Fang treated her like an older sister. Because of this, Nanny Nan held a high status in the house. Even Fang Boda was always polite to her. Hearing the nanny's words, Mrs. Fang looked a bit dejected. Lanzhu had a hard life growing up in that house. Nanny Nan snapped back, "Ma'am, stop defending him. I can't stand Li Ruyan's petty low-class behavior either." But she was right about one thing. Master Lanzhu is an ungrateful brat. You're always thinking about him and worrying, but he probably forgot you even exist. Fang Boda added, "I heard Miss Su got him a job at the Su Group. That's why he's kissing up to the old lady." Nanny Nan scoffed. "You're the one who raised him. When Li Ruyan ignored him as a child, you were the one who fed him. You were the one who sent him to school. Raising a child is the greatest debt there is. Yet he hasn't done a thing to repay you." Mrs. Fang cut her off. "That's enough," Fang Boda continued. "Mom is just too kind. She never asked for anything in return when she helped people. But some people actually know how to show gratitude. Like Dr. Nan. You only gave him a small scholarship, and look how much he's helped our family over the years. When the company almost went bankrupt 3 years ago, he gave us that patent. That saved everything." Nanny Nan nodded along. "When you compare the two, Dr. Nan is 1,000 times better than Fang Lanzhou." Fang Boda acted curious. "I've always wondered what kind of person this Dr. Nan really is. Can I come with you tomorrow to meet him?" Mrs. Fang smiled and patted his head. "Sure, you can come." They chatted as they walked down to the parking lot. I watched this scene unfold from the window of the VIP room where I was sitting. My eyes followed Mrs. Fang. She looked sickly pale and her frame was dangerously thin. Fang Boda was saying something to her, and she nodded helplessly. The two of them looked so close. I watched until their car pulled away, finally pulling my gaze away. I turned around to find Grandma standing right behind me. Who was that grandson-in-law? She looked so familiar. I smiled gently, about to answer, but she cut me off. "You two look alike." Her eyes lit up suddenly. "I remember now, that's your mother." I froze. Looked like me. In reality, besides having a similar face shape, we looked quite different. Mrs. Fang had phoenix eyes while mine were more almond-shaped. If there was a resemblance, it was that cold, detached aura we both shared. It made sense that someone might see it. After I left the Fang family, whenever I faced a challenge, I would always think, what would Mrs. Fang do? In this situation, I modeled my behavior after hers. Over time, it wasn't surprising that I'd picked up some of her mannerisms. I looked at the old lady. "Grandma, that's not my mother," but she was dead certain. "Yes, she is. How can you not recognize your own mother?" I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Was she having another episode? Fortunately, Su Qingyue arrived at the door, with dinner just then. That distracted Grandma from the topic. Su Qingyue had brought quite a feast. Along with several light dishes, there were 3 servings of fruit. Grandma immediately frowned. "My grandson-in-law can't eat mangoes. He's allergic to mangoes." I froze for a second. I looked at Grandma in total confusion. "How did you know that?" "I used to have a severe mango allergy, but after I started getting in better shape 2 years ago, it just went away." I'd never mentioned any of this to the old lady. "You told me yourself," Grandma chuckled. "You said your face would break out in hives if you touched them." My expression turned serious. "When exactly did I tell you that?" But the old lady just looked confused again. "Before you got married, I think." "Yeah, you told me before the wedding, but I was certain. I didn't even know her back then. It's not like I have amnesia." I pressed her. "What else do you remember? Like how Ms. Su and I ended up getting married?" Grandma shook her head. "I can't remember. It seemed she only had these flashes of memory, in very specific situations. While I was lost in thought, I felt a cold, calculating gaze on me. I turned to meet Su Qingyue's deep, searching eyes. Her face was like ice. She clearly heard everything Grandma said. She probably thought I was running some long con again. I could explain until I was blue in the face, and she still wouldn't believe me. Suddenly, I picked up the puppy. "You guys eat. I'm going to walk the dog." I walked out the door, but I didn't go far. I stopped at the end of the hallway, leaning against the wall with the dog in my arms, and watched Grandma's room in silence. Sure enough, a moment later, a familiar figure stepped out. Su Qingyue walked slowly toward me. "Do you have something to say, Mr. Fang?" She bit her lip. "I thought you'd want an explanation." "Do you have one?" I answered honestly. "About what happened before the wedding?" I swear I have no idea what she's talking about. Even as I said it, it sounded ridiculous. A mango allergy is a private thing. Grandma couldn't have just made it up. I expected her to grill me, but she only gave a calm, single-word reply. Oh. Her reaction caught me off guard. You believe that I didn't know Su Qingyue took a step closer, her voice low. Mr. Fang, I don't care what your angle is. As long as you keep my grandmother happy, I promise I'll keep you safe. Suddenly it clicked. She didn't care about the truth at all. She didn't care if I was a liar. She was powerful. The most powerful person in the city. She wasn't afraid of some petty scheme. Her only priority was the old lady. Even if I was plotting something, as long as Grandma was smiling, this woman was willing to turn. A blind eye. Then her tone turned sharp and threatening. But if you ever hurt her, I'll make sure you can't show your face in this city again. I've never responded well to threats. I let out a dry laugh. Haven't you already started? Su Qingyue frowned, about to snap back, when a booming voice interrupted us. Fang Lanzhou. I turned to see Professor Liang. She looked like she had a cold. Her voice was a bit raspy. She walked right up to me. I was just about to call you. Did you ever find a job, and did you clear things up with Ms. Su? That woman is a real piece of work. How can someone be so petty? Rescinding your grad school recommendation was one thing, but then she threatened to run you out of town. Su Qingyue stood there completely baffled. I shot her a sarcastic smirk. Don't worry, Professor. It was all just a misunderstanding. Miss Su is actually quite a nice person. Didn't she just give me a job and promise to keep me safe? My biting tone made Su Qingyue's expression darken. Professor Liang sighed in relief, only then noticing Su Qingyue standing there. Seeing how close we were, he remembered the conversation he'd overheard between Fang Boda and Li Ruyan. Is this the low-life wife you were talking about? He asked instinctively. Su Qingyue's face darkened instantly, but my smile only widened. Yeah, something like that. Professor Liang turned to Su Qingyue with a look of maternal concern. You're such a pretty girl. You really should try to find a respectable job. At that, both of us fell into an awkward silence. Meanwhile, the Fang family was having lunch in the dining room. Mrs. Fang looked pale, picking at her food without an appetite. Fang Wenzong asked with immediate concern, Shu, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? Mrs. Fang shook her head. Seeing this, Fang Boda cut in. Dad, we ran into Lanzhou at the hospital today. I think Mom is just worried about him. Why on earth would you worry about him? Fang Wenzong frowned. He definitely hates me now. Fang Boda sighed. He blames me for making him drop out and forcing him to go abroad. I'm just afraid of what he might say. To the old lady, if Ms. Su finds out, she might take it out on me. Fang Wenzong scoffed. He's the one who offended Miss Su. What does that have to do with you? Even if he got lucky, by saving the old lady that's between them. Besides, Miss Su was the one who told our family to keep our younger generation in line. Fang Boda's expression stiffened. He'd lied about Ms. Su leaving those instructions, hoping the matter would just blow over. He had always known that his father's affection only existed because he was Mrs. Fang's son. If Wenzong found out he'd actually provoked Miss Su's displeasure, the consequences would be devastating. Right then, Fang Wenzong's phone began to ring. He picked up. Special Assistant Ye. To what do I owe the call? Does Ms. Su have instructions for me? Fang Boda's heart sank. Please don't let it be what I think it is. He started to panic. His voice came through the speaker. My boss wants to ask Master Fang Boda. Exactly when she ever said. She wanted Fang Lanzhou to disappear from this city. She doesn't seem to recall giving that order. Fang Wenzong froze, looking at Fang Boda in utter disbelief. Fang Boda's face went white in an instant. Wenzong spent the next few minutes groveling to Ye. He was left with a final warning. The Fang family really does need to learn how to raise their children. He finally hung up and glared at Fang Boda with pure rage. Fang Boda hung his head, looking at the floor in silence. I saw Lanzhou harassing Miss Su. I was afraid he'd ruin my engagement to fake Shui, and I didn't want the Sus to look down on you, Dad. I didn't mean for this to happen, you idiot, Wenzong barked. You do not use Ms. Su's name as a shield for your own petty drama. Fang Boda clenched his fists, his eyes darting nervously. Dad, he whispered, Lanzhou is your son too. I was just afraid you'd be too soft on him. The mention of the relationship made Wenzong shift gears. How many times do I have to tell you, in my heart I only have one son, and that's you. Fang Lanzhou is nothing. He doesn't even belong in the same sentence as you. Wenzong, don't say that, his wife interjected softly. Lanzhou is still your flesh and blood. Wenzong turned to her immediately. Shu, don't you know me by now? I failed you when I let Li Ruyan trick me all those years ago. I will never acknowledge her or her son. To me, you and our son are my only family. Standing nearby in her maid's uniform, Li Ruyan heard every word. She clenched her fists, her heart filled with resentment. She looked at Fang Wenzong with a gaze full of bitterness. This was the man she loved, the boy next door she'd grown up with. But his heart and soul had only ever belonged to Nan Jinshu. Years ago, when she'd gone to him with a positive pregnancy test offering to be his mistress, he had thrown her out without a second thought, swearing he would never betray his wife. Li Ruyan had been desperate. Her only choice was to go to Nan Jinshu directly. I had to fight tooth and nail to stay in the Fang family. For years, Fang Wenzong never gave me a second look, and he treated Nanzhou like he didn't even exist. Thank God I swapped the two children. Li Ruyan lowered her head, hiding a triumphant smirk. Fang Wenzong will never know. The boy he claims is Nan Jinshu's son, the one he's cherished all these years, his precious Fang Boda, is actually his own flesh and blood. As for Fang Nanzhou, he deserves to be ignored and crushed. But Mrs. Fang shook her head stubbornly. Wenzong Boda was wrong, plain and simple. He lied to us, and he made us turn against Nanzhou. We need to go and apologize to the boy. Apologize for what Wenzong snapped. My son is not going to apologize to Li Ruyan's brat. Li Ruyan quickly chimed in. No, really, there's no need. The Fangs raised him. That's a debt he can never repay. Besides, he's the one who shamelessly harassed Miss Su. It's only right that the family disciplined him. He should consider himself lucky. Mrs. Fang sighed, looking at them, but she stopped arguing. After lunch, when Fang Boda walked her back to her room, she looked at him. If you're free tomorrow, I'm taking you to see Lanzhou to apologize in person. Fang Boda froze. He thought he'd dodged his father's anger, but he couldn't escape Mrs. Fang. He looked pained, but seeing his expression, Mrs. Fang sighed again. Don't you want to take Su Qingyue to meet Dr. Nan? We'll all go together tomorrow. Boda's eyes lit up instantly. He grabbed her arm. Mom, you really are the best to me. Because he'd offended the old lady. He'd lost a 2% stake in the Su group. He desperately needed to prove his worth to the Sus now. He was terrified Fake Shui might call off the wedding. Mrs. Fang patted his head, feeling helpless. Once Boda had left in high spirits, Mrs. Fang turned to her longtime maid. Nan, I've been so sick these past few years. I haven't had the energy to raise Boda properly. I've really failed him. You're overthinking it, ma'am, the maid replied. I think Master Boda is wonderful. He's so filial and caring. So he told a little lie. He'll learn. It's not a character flaw. But Nanzhou never tells lies, Mrs. Fang murmured. She began to cough violently again. The maid helped her to the bed. My lady, you just worry too much. That's why you haven't been able to get well all these years. Mrs. Fang's eyes filled with bitterness. The next day, I woke up feeling pretty nervous. It had been 10 years since I last saw Mrs. Fang. I didn't know if she'd be happy to see me or just angry. At noon, I decided to head home to shower and change. The old lady told Su Qingyue to drive me. As we left the ward and headed downstairs, we ran into Yehua. Boss, Su Qingyue gave a slight nod. Yehua then handed me a sheet of paper. Take a look at this, Mr. Fang. I took it confused and saw a list of the top universities in the country. They were all renowned professors in the new energy field. I looked at Yehua puzzled. What's this? Yehua raised his chin slightly. These professors are all more famous than Professor Liang. You can pick any of them for your grad studies. Consider it compensation for losing your recommendation. Mr. Fang meeting my boss really was a blessing in disguise for you. I nearly laughed. No thanks, I know most of these names. They've all emailed me before, asking me for advice on technical issues. So you want to stay with Professor Liang? Yehua frowned. If none of these are good enough, then you must want to study under Dr. Nan. That might be a problem. Dr. Nan is the man of the hour, I heard. Several top universities abroad are already headhunting him. A genius professor like Dr. Nan only takes on the brightest students. I doubt you'd even make the cut. Don't let your ambition get ahead of you. Pick one of these other professors for now. Once you finish your master's, you can try applying to Dr. Nan for your PhD. I looked at him like he was an idiot. I turned to Su Qingyue and said, Miss Su, don't bother driving me. I'll just take a cab. With that, I walked straight out of the hospital. I hailed a taxi at the curb and left. Ye Hua scratched his head. He said, I heard Boda wants to be Dr. Nan's grad student. Master Fang probably just doesn't want to lose to him. But aiming for Dr. Nan, he's way out of his league. Su Qingyue stared in the direction I'd gone. Her elegant face remained expressionless, but there was a deep, unreadable look in her eyes, making it impossible to know what she was thinking. Help him get in touch with Dr. Nan, she said suddenly. What Ye Hua was stunned. Why are you being so nice to him, boss? Don't tell me you've fallen for his good looks. At the entrance of a private restaurant, Mrs. Fang arrived with Boda and Su Feishui. 10 minutes early, stepping out of the car, Feishui looked around with a frown. Why are we meeting here? What's wrong? Boda asked, confused. Nothing, Feishui replied, pursing her lips. Boda turned to Mrs. Fang. Mom, is Dr. Nan here yet? He's already in the private room. The three of them entered the restaurant. Feishui scanned the area, but she didn't see the person she was expecting. She turned her focus back to Boda. Would someone like Dr. Nan really stoop to working for the Su Group? Boda glanced at Mrs. Fang and lowered his voice. Feishui, go in first and talk to him. If you're sincere enough, I'm sure you can win him over. He turned to Mrs. Fang. Sorry, Mom, my clothes feel a bit messed up. Can you come with me to the restroom and help me fix them? Mrs. Fang went with him to the restroom. Feishui walked up to the door of the private room. Her first assignment at the Su Group was in the R&D department. If she could get Dr. Nan on her team, it would definitely boost her standing within the company. She fixed her hair and pushed the door open. She saw the broad shoulders of a man with his back to her pouring tea. The legendary Dr. Nan was actually a young man. Feishui suppressed her shock and said respectfully, Hello, Dr. Nan. I'm Su Feishui from the Su Group. It's a pleasure to meet you. The man slowly turned around. When Feishui saw his handsome face, she was completely floored. Fang Lanzhou, what the hell are you doing here? I just received a text from Mrs. Fang saying they'd arrived, so I was pouring her a cup of tea. I hadn't expected Su Feishui to barge in. A smirk played on my lips, though my voice remained casual. I should be asking you that. Mrs. Fang was the one who invited me. Feishui's face went cold. Don't worry, I'm not here for you. She looked around the room. Where is Dr. Nan? I paused. Who? Feishui snapped impatiently. The guest in this room. Where is he? I narrowed my eyes and said nothing. Footsteps sounded at the door again. Mrs. Fang and Boda walked inside. When they saw me, they both froze in their tracks. Boda's expression soured instantly, but Mrs. Fang's eyes began to well up. Lanzhou. Ever since I left the Fang family, Mrs. Fang hadn't seen me once. 10 years had been enough time for a young boy to grow into a man. I was deeply moved. Mrs. Fang wasn't upset to see me. She was genuinely overjoyed. Maybe running away for the last 10 years was completely unnecessary. I blinked back the tears and took a step forward. Mrs. Fang, I said respectfully. How have you been? I'm fine, really. I'm doing well. And you, Nanzhou? Your father mentioned you got married. Mrs. Fang took her seat at the head of the table. She held my hand and wouldn't let go. I nodded but didn't say much. A bittersweet look crossed her face. She clearly wanted to ask why I hadn't brought my wife to see her. But then she remembered Fang Wenzong's coldness the day before. She thought of how Li Ruoyun ignored and mistreated me, and the words died in her throat. A dark glint flashed in Fang Boda's eyes. Lanzhou, what are you doing here? He's been working here part-time, Su Feishui mocked. Boda acted surprised. Working? You mean you're a waiter here? Mrs. Fang's grip on my hand tightened slightly. She looked at me with concern. I thought you were working at the Su Group. Why are you working a second job? Do you need money? It's not what you think, I said calmly. Let's catch up another time then, Boda interrupted. We have a very important guest today. He cut us off and looked at me again. Lanzhou, I'd love to invite you to join us for dinner, but since you're working, it's probably not convenient. I wouldn't want you to ignore your other customers and get in trouble. Being so careless and hurting a guest to help you get by. That's enough, Boda. Mrs. Fang scolded him before turning back to me. They were both Wenzong's sons, yet one was a pampered heir and the other was just a waiter. She assumed I must be hurting inside, but to her surprise, I remained perfectly calm, as if the difference in our status didn't bother me at all. Her eyes filled with a sudden sense of respect. Lanzhou, I'm meeting Dr. Nan today, she said. You're in the new energy field too, right? You should stay. Networking with him will help your career. Boda clenched his fists. Dr. Nan was his trump card. Why should he share him with me? What if I stole Dr. Nan away from him too? With that thought, Boda scanned the room, his eyes landing on a teacup on the table. Steam was rising from the scalding tea. He picked it up and walked over to me. Lanzhou, Mom wanted me to apologize for yesterday. Let's consider this tea a peace offering. He purposefully loosened his grip. The scalding tea was about to spill all over me. But I'd seen it coming. Ever since we were kids, Boda had done everything he could to keep me under his thumb. There was no way he'd apologize to me for real. When I saw his hand tilt, I smirked inwardly. I turned around, and as if by accident, bumped into the cup. That was supposed to drench me. The cup bounced right back onto Boda. The tea soaked his shirt and scalded his skin. Boda let out a sharp cry. He was stunned for a second, then masked the pain with a look of hurt. Lanzhou, I know you hate me, but how could you do that? I looked down, feigning innocence. Sorry, I didn't see you there. Boda's eyes filled with tears, as if he were about to break down. Fang Nan Zhou Su Qingyue yelled, Is this how you wait on people being so careless and hurting a guest? Get your manager. I'm filing a complaint. Mrs. Fang intervened immediately. Enough. We're family. Boda's eyes shifted. You're right. Lanzhou was probably just excited. To meet Dr. Nan. If I met Dr. Nan, my career would skyrocket and Boda wouldn't be able to control me anymore. That thought flashed through Su Qingyue's mind and she spoke up. Auntie Boda is my fiancé. I have to stand up for him. I can't let him be mistreated like this. She glared at me. Someone like you has no business meeting Dr. Nan. Are you going to leave on your own or do I have to throw you out? Mrs. Fang frowned, about to say something. Boda grabbed her arm. Mom Qingyue is upset. Just have Lanzhou leave for now, so things don't escalate. Mrs. Fang nodded helplessly. She looked at me with a soft, pleading gaze. Lanzhou, try to visit home more often. I'll introduce you to Dr. Nan when there's another chance. I started to say something, but Boda quickly cut me off. Mom, where is Dr. Nan? Why isn't he here yet? Mrs. Fang sighed. I'll text him again and ask. No need, I said with a smirk. He's already here. Those words made all three of them snap their heads toward me. Boda hesitated. Where is Dr. Nan? Feishu stared at me, waiting for an answer. Mrs. Fang got so excited that she had a sudden coughing fit. Where is he? She gasped through the coughs. Seeing her struggle, I quickly handed her a glass of water. Her hand was trembling as she reached for it. The next second, the glass slipped from her fingers and she slumped over onto the table unconscious. Ma'am, I cried out, instinctively reaching to catch her. Boda shoved me aside with all his strength. Get away from her. What did you do to my mother? Mom, wake up. Someone call 911. The ambulance arrived in minutes. I tried to get in to go to the hospital with them, but Feishu grabbed me. Stay away from her, you bastard, she spat. If you've done something to hurt her, I will make you pay. She shoved me back hard. I didn't fight her. I just hailed a cab and followed them closely. Su Qingyue had finished dinner with the old lady and was working on some files in the suite. After a while, she felt strangely restless. She walked over to the window to look out at the city. Suddenly, she spotted a familiar figure downstairs. A group of people was rushing a gurney toward the inpatient wing. I was trailing far behind them. I looked like a lost little kid. Su Qingyue raised an eyebrow, then turned and walked out. When she reached the first floor, she saw Boda and Feishu handling the intake paperwork. I'm sorry, the doctor said. All our rooms are currently full. We'll have to keep her in the hallway for now. We'll get her a bed as soon as one opens up. Is there nothing in the VIP wing? Feishu asked. Money is no object. We're completely booked, the doctor replied. Boda was starting to panic. Feishu, what do we do now? Calm down. I'll think of something. Feishu pulled out her phone, stepped aside and started making calls. Su Qingyue noticed that while Boda looked frantic, his eyes didn't show real concern for Mrs. Fang. She looked over at me again. Unlike Boda, my face was calm, but my eyes were fixed on Mrs. Fang. I was keeping my distance, as if terrified of disturbing her rest. I didn't say a word, but the worry was written all over me. Su Qingyue's eyes softened. She turned to Ye Hua, who was standing behind her. Get a room ready for Mr. Fang. I stood by Mrs. Fang's bedside. Feishu had made several calls, and judging by her face, they hadn't gone well. I realized she wasn't going to be any help. Mrs. Fang wasn't in any immediate danger. The coughing had caused insomnia, and the lack of rest had finally caught up with her. She just needed peace and quiet to recover. This hallway was too loud and chaotic. But I didn't have any connections at Haicheng Hospital. Would I really have to ask him for help? I pulled out my phone and found a contact saved as debt collector. Just as I was about to dial, the receptionist at the front desk got a call. She immediately waved them over. A VIP suite just opened up. Boda's face lit up. Fake Shui, I knew you could do it. Fake Shui looked genuinely confused. The friends she'd called had been pretty vague. She thought they were just blowing her off. Maybe someone actually pulled some strings. Boda didn't think twice and just took the credit. They all headed upstairs to the ward. I followed them, keeping my distance. Mrs. Fang looked even thinner than she did 10 years ago. She was deathly pale. As they wheeled her into the room, I instinctively tried to follow her inside. But Boda blocked the doorway. Fang Lenzhou, my mother needs peace and quiet. Don't disturb her. He slammed the door in my face. I stood there stunned. I was worried sick about her, but I knew. I didn't have the status or the right to push that door open. I wanted to wait until she woke up before I left, so I took a seat on a bench in the hallway. A few minutes later, I heard the sound of hurried footsteps. Fang Wenzong looked frantic, as he rushed into the ward out of breath. Once he made sure his wife was stable, he pulled Boda out into the hallway to talk. Wenzong frowned. What happened? How did she just collapse like that? Boda looked over at me sitting nearby. Nanzhou insisted on meeting Dr. Nan. He lied. He got into a fight with Feixiu, and it upset Mom so much she fainted. Wenzong turned on me, his eyes full of rage. You little brat! Without a word, he swung his arm back to slap me. I didn't even flinch. My mind was stuck on how pale Mrs. Fang looked when she lost consciousness. I kept thinking about what Boda once told me. My mother's life is a tragedy because of you. Maybe I really shouldn't have shown my face to her. But the blow never landed. I opened my eyes to see a tall, elegant figure standing in front of me. Su Qingyue looked like a guardian angel. Standing there, she felt like the only person on my side. I blinked, fighting back tears and swallowing the bitterness in my throat. Mr. Fang, she said. Wenzong's voice was panicked. Then she spoke in her low, calm voice. Mr. Fang, I shouldn't interfere with how you raise your son, but my grandmother is very fond of him. She'd be devastated if she saw a bruise on his face. I wasn't thinking, Wenzong said quickly, before anyone could say anything else. We heard Mrs. Fang coughing inside the room. She's awake, Wenzong, and Boda rushed back inside. I stood up, wanting so badly to check on her, yet I lacked the courage to walk in. I hovered by the door for a long time, hesitant. Then I heard Mrs. Fang's voice, through the door. I'm fine, don't worry, she said weakly. I haven't slept well in so long. Passing out actually felt like a good nap. I finally relaxed, feeling like I could breathe again. Su Qingyue watched him. Just a moment ago, he looked so lost, like a stray puppy that couldn't find its way home. It was heartbreaking. Aren't you going in, she asked. Not yet, I whispered. It'll just turn into another argument, and she needs a rest. As we turned to leave, we saw the old lady walking toward us, supported by her butler. I heard my grandson-in-law's mother was hospitalized, so I came to visit. I took her arm. Grandmom, Mrs. Fang isn't my mother. Did I get it wrong? The old lady suddenly pulled out her phone, found a photo, and showed it to me. But you sent me this yourself. You said it was a photo of you and your mom. Isn't that the woman in there? I looked at it and froze. In the photo, Mrs. Fang and I were sitting by the ocean, both of us smiling brightly. We looked like a mother and son who adored each other. But I hadn't seen her. Since I left the Fang house in middle school, there was no way a photo like this could exist. I took the phone from her and zoomed in on the image. I looked closer and found a few clues. The photo was a total fake. It was a sloppy Photoshop job. Someone probably took a stock photo of a mother and son and swapped in my face. And Mrs. Fang's. I looked at the old lady. Grandma, when did I send you this? She shook her head. I don't remember. Then how did I send it? By email, a text message. She just kept shaking her head. I can't think of it. I felt a bit helpless. Grandma would drop these bombshells out of nowhere, but then she couldn't explain how or why. She remained adamant. Grandson-in-law, she is your mother. You can't just ignore your own mom. If only that were true. I wished more than anything that she really was my mother. I looked down to hide the bitterness in my eyes. I walked Grandma back to her room, but Su Qingyue didn't go in with us. She stayed out in the hallway. Yihua soon approached her. Boss, I checked. Mr. Fang was working his side job at that private bistro again when he ran into the Fangs. Su Qingyue remembered when I'd come home earlier to shower and change. She'd assumed I was getting ready for a date. A faint, almost imperceptible smile played on Su Qingyue's lips. Then her voice turned cold and businesslike again. Does Su Group pay him that poorly? Why else would he be working a second job? He gets plenty, Yehua replied. The old lady set his salary herself. It's more likely that his manager, Zhang Yingqiao, is giving him such a hard time, that he's worried about being fired. Everything I did at the company was being watched by Yehua, but Su Qingyue suspected there was more to it. What were the Fangs doing at that bistro? They had a meeting with Dr. Nan, Yehua answered. Was Ms. Su Feishui there for the doctor too? Apparently he never showed up. A flicker of realization crossed Su Qingyue's eyes. A thought started to form, though it seemed too absurd to be true. After 2 hours of rest, Mrs. Fang was feeling much better. She coughed and said Boda tell Feishui to head home. When Boda heard this, he looked a little awkward. Feishui wasn't staying there. Out of concern for Mrs. Fang, she was only there to wait for Dr. Nan. Mom, Boda said about the doctor. Mrs. Fang realized what he meant. Hand me my phone, she said. I should at least explain why we missed the meeting. She sent Dr. Nan a message to apologize and reschedule. Only then did Boda walk Feishui out. Don't worry about Dr. Nan. Boda told her in the hallway. I'll make sure everything works out. Boda, there are some old-timers in the R&D department who don't respect me at all. But if I can get Dr. Nan to join us, it'll be a huge win for me. It's the only way I'll secure my position. He is very important to me. You have to convince him. They stepped into the elevator together. Once they were gone, I finally came out from the corner. Right now, I didn't want another confrontation with Boda in front of his mother. I didn't want to risk making her condition worse. I walked to her room and pushed the door open. Wenzong's face darkened the moment he saw me. What are you doing here? Get out! Before I could say a word, Mrs. Fang's soft voice came from the bed. Is that Lanzhou? Let him in. Wenzong glared at me. Don't you dare upset her again, he warned. I told you today wasn't Lanzhou's fault, she said. I was just exhausted from not sleeping. She gave my hand a gentle squeeze. You poor thing. Did we scare you today? She was frail and thin, but her hand was so warm. I just smiled. No, I'm okay. You need to come home and visit more often. Mrs. Fang leaned back against the hospital bed, looking at me with kindness. And bring your wife too. Your mother says she's just some lowlife, but I don't believe that. Lanzhou has always had good taste. He's honest and has a good head on his shoulders. Anyone you choose must have their own strengths. Bring her by to see me sometime. My eyes stung with tears. I will. Since the day I got my marriage certificate, everyone has given me nothing but insults and abuse. Only Mrs. Fang actually showed me any warmth. She started to say something else, but she broke into a violent coughing fit. That's enough for now, Fang Wenzong said. You need to rest. I stood up and pulled a small white bottle out of my pocket. I placed it in Mrs. Fang's hand. I asked someone to get this cough medicine for me. Take one if you can't sleep at night. Mrs. Fang nodded. Thank you. I didn't want to disturb her any longer, so I said my goodbyes and left. Once I was gone, Mrs. Fang looked at the bottle of medicine. Lanzhou really does care about me, she sighed. Wenzong snorted with contempt. If he cared, he wouldn't have stayed away for 10 years. Really? You're being won over by some random pills? From a back alley clinic, he tossed the bottle into the trash can. I heard Dr. Nan is running clinical trials on a new cough specialist drug. I'll use my connections to get some for you. Mrs. Fang's expression darkened. You actually believe those rumors? Chronic neurological coughing is a niche disease. No one is going to waste time developing a cure for it. They'd never make back their R&D costs. Wenzong took her hand. We have to try. You're up all night coughing. It's agonizing to watch. I can't stand seeing you suffer. She could only nod. As night fell, Mrs. Fang suddenly jolted awake, coughing violently again. She was exhausted, but sleep was impossible. She curled on her side, trying to suppress the itch in her throat, not wanting to wake Wenzong in the outer room. No one knew how hopeless she truly felt. There was no cure for chronic neurological coughing. It was only getting worse. The sleep deprivation and anxiety had even made her think about ending it all. If she weren't so mentally strong, she might have given up long ago. But even she didn't know how much longer she could last. Lately, she could feel her life slipping away. Maybe she wouldn't even live to see her son get married. As those dark thoughts filled her mind, she caught sight of the trash can and the bottle of medicine inside. Compelled by a sudden urge, she fished it out. opened it and took out a single white pill. She put it in her mouth. As soon as the pill touched her tongue, a cool sensation spread through her throat. The persistent itch felt like it was being washed away. It was such a relief. She didn't even need water. She just swallowed the pill. She let out one last small cough. She gave a bitter smile. For a second there, she actually thought the pill might work. She was clearly just being desperate. Mrs. Fang lay back and closed her eyes. This was neurological. She'd spent 20 years taking every medicine imaginable and seeing every specialist, yet nothing worked. Honey, honey, wake up. Mrs. Fang slowly opened her eyes to see Wen Zong standing by the bed. The whole room was filled with bright light. Are the hospital lights always this bright? She felt dazed. What time is it? It's 10 in the morning. Wenzong looked at her with concern. You need to eat something before your blood sugar drops. Mrs. Fang froze. She looked around the room bewildered. That's when I realized. The brightness wasn't from the overhead lights, it was sunlight. She had actually slept through the entire night. This is impossible. It's that medicine. The stuff Lanzhou gave me. Beside her, the nanny's eyes were red with excitement. Madam, the sleeping pills the doctor gave you yesterday really worked. You actually slept for 10 whole hours. Mrs. Fang was stunned. What sleeping pills? The nanny turned toward Boda. Miss Su Feishu found them for you. When she heard you were having trouble sleeping, she tracked down some high-potency sleep aids. We added them to your nightly dose. We didn't tell you, because we didn't want you overthinking it and staying awake. I can't believe they actually worked. Mrs. Fang paused. Is that so? Sleeping pills only help with rest, but waking up today, her throat felt significantly clearer. Her gaze drifted to the pillow, landing on that unlabeled plastic bottle. I'll test it again tonight, she thought. If I only take the sleeping pills and skip this medicine, I'll see what happens. Then I'll know for sure which one is actually doing the work. Mrs. Fang kept the thought to herself and stayed quiet. Fang Wenzong looked at Boda and said with pride, Feishui really is a wonderful daughter-in-law. I heard the flu has been so bad lately that the inpatient department is completely full. They couldn't even find a spare room yesterday. Feki had to pull a lot of strings just to get you this private suite. We really have her to thank for this. Mrs. Fang was surprised to learn that Feishui had even arranged the room. She really is a good kid. Boda seized the moment. Mom, Feishui is so devoted to you. Maybe you could do something to help her out. How could I help? Mrs. Fang asked, confused. Wenzong chimed in. Is she having some trouble at work? Boda nodded and let out a heavy sigh. The family wants her to run the R&D department, but the senior researchers there are all stuck in their ways. They don't respect her authority. If she could recruit Dr. Nan to the team, even just as an outside consultant, it would give her the leverage she needs. Boda looked at Mrs. Fang after speaking. As expected, he saw the conflict written on her face. Mrs. Fang was a woman of principle. She didn't believe in using personal favors for gain, but she hated being in someone's debt even more. She hesitated for a moment, before finally saying, I'll ask Dr. Nan. But if he says no, don't worry about it. Boda was all smiles. In his experience, whenever Mrs. Fang asked for something, Dr. Nan never refused. Mrs. Fang took out her phone and found Dr. Nan's WeChat. She carefully drafted a message. Xiaonan, are you free? I'd like to ask you for a favor. I had just finished taking the old lady for a walk when I received the notification. I frowned as I read the text. Why was Mrs. Fang reaching out so suddenly? Was there an issue with the medicine from yesterday? Or maybe an adverse reaction? The drug was technically still in clinical trials. I had planned to wait until the trials were over to give it to her. But seeing how sick she was, I decided to risk giving it to her early. Panic started to set in. I asked a nurse to take Grandma back to her room and rushed over to Mrs. Fang's suite. Su Qingyue, working in the outer lounge, saw Grandma enter. She instinctively looked behind her, but didn't see the usual person following. Her eyes narrowed. Where's Mr. Fang? He went to see his mother, Grandma replied. Qingyue's brow furrowed. Did something happen to Mrs. Fang? Grandma immediately got nervous. He was definitely in a hurry when he ran off. Oh dear, you better go check on them. Su Qingyue considered this for a moment, before standing up to head out. Yehua followed close behind her. I sprinted into Mrs. Fang's room only to find it crowded with people. Not only was Su Feishui there, but Li Ruyan was present as well. Someone must have just cracked a joke because everyone was laughing. But the sounds of laughter in the room died the moment I stepped inside. Standing in the doorway, I realized I was crashing a party. Mrs. Fang looked fine. I lowered my eyes, planning to make a quiet exit. She wanted to call out and stop me, but one look at the group in the room told her it was probably better if I left for now. She could always meet with me privately later. However, Li Ruyan couldn't help herself. Well, if it isn't young Master Fang, now that you've climbed your way up to old Mrs. Su, I guess the rest of us aren't worth your time anymore. I didn't say a word. I turned to go, but Li Ruyan grabbed my arm. I heard all about it. You're working overtime to suck up to the old lady playing nurse and waiting on her hand and foot all night. You really think she's going to treat you like her own grandson? Keep dreaming. To her, you're just a little pet. Boda jumped in. Hey, don't say that. Old Mrs. Su thinks very highly of Lanzhou. Li Ruyan's voice shot up an octave. Highly, that's not respect. What Fake Shui does for you, Boda, that's respect. She gave Su Fake Shui a sycophantic look. I heard there wasn't a single bed available yesterday. Plenty of wealthy families are still on a waiting list just to get admitted. But Fake Shui made a few calls and suddenly Madam is in a VIP suite. Su Fake Shui glanced at me with a modest smile. My aunt probably didn't know about the situation. Otherwise, I'm sure she would have helped too. I just did what little I could. That little bit was a huge favor to this family, Li Ruyan insisted. Then she sneered at me again. Even if Miss Su knew, she wouldn't have spared a thought for you. No matter how much you grovel, you're just a stray dog. She lets follow her around. I clenched my fist, but I didn't want to start a scene. I didn't want to disturb Mrs. Fang's rest. Outside the door, Su Qingyue had heard every single word. Her expression went cold as she glanced at Ye Hua. Ye Hua knew exactly what the boss wanted. He cleared his throat and walked in. Mrs. Fang, I'm here on behalf of CEO Su to check in on you. Is the room to your liking? The room went dead silent. Everyone turned to look at Ye Hua, then back at Su Feishui. Feishui looked completely blindsided. Was this room actually her aunt's doing? Li Ruyan was stunned too, but she recovered quickly. Oh, Miss Feishui, so you asked Miss Su to arrange this for us? Feishui's face turned pale. Ye Hua smiled and said, actually, Mr. Fang asked the CEO to set this up. Did you call her too, Miss Feishui? In that moment, Su Feishui wanted to crawl into a hole and die. She started stammering out an explanation. Well, I made a lot of calls. Reached out to several people. They said they'd help. I must have misunderstood. Boda felt a surge of pure embarrassment. He clenched his fist tight. For the first time, Su Feishui didn't seem so perfect after all. Mrs. Fang finally broke the awkward silence. She coughed and turned to Ye Hua. Thank Miss Su for me. The accommodations are wonderful. Once I'm feeling better, I'll visit the old Mrs. Su to thank her personally. Ye Hua nodded. As long as you're comfortable, if Mr. Fang isn't worried, the old Mrs. Su is happy. Everyone in business knows how to read between the lines. No one missed the fact that he was publicly backing Lanzhou. A heavy feeling settled over the people in the room. They hadn't expected the old lady to value him so much. Only Mrs. Fang was genuinely happy. She always worried about Lanzhou being out there on his own. But given their complicated history, she couldn't show her affection too openly. Knowing old Mrs. Su truly cared for him finally gave her some peace of mind. I was a little surprised myself. I didn't realize Su Qingyue had gone to the trouble. I turned my gaze toward Li Ruyan. My lips curled into a smirk, letting my contempt show. Li Ruyan fumed at my expression. You little brat! What are you looking so smug about? Don't think you're special just because someone has your back. Shut up, Fang Wenzong barked at her. My wife is sick and needs her rest. Why are you in here wasting everyone's time? Get your ass home! Now, Li Ruyan's face immediately fell into a pout. Wenzong, get out, he snapped, cutting her off. Her face turned bright red with embarrassment. She shot me a vicious glare. Then she turned and ran out of the room. Once she was gone, I turned to look at Mrs. Fang. Madam, how did you sleep last night? Hearing the question. Her hand instinctively tightened around the small bottle hidden under the covers. I slept very well, she said slowly. I haven't slept that well in a long time. Glad to hear it. I didn't offer any further explanation. I just gave her a nod. I'll be going now. Mrs. Fang offered a faint smile. All right. Ye Hua and I headed out. Su Qingyue was standing in the hallway, leaning against the wall and looking at her phone. Stray hairs framed her face, her profile catching the light. Hearing us come out, she turned toward me. Her lips parted slightly. Grandma was worried. She insisted I come see for myself. Her tone was detached, but the low melodic sound of her voice warmed my heart. Thank you, I said with a genuine smile. My eyes lit up with a clear, youthful energy carrying an effortless charm that caught her off guard. For a moment, Su Qingyue seemed almost dazed. Just then, Su Feishu's voice drifted out from the room. Auntie, since you're doing better, I'll head out now. Fine. Boda see her out. The door opened, and Su Feishui stepped out with Fang Boda. They immediately spotted Su Qingyue and me. Boda looked like he was facing a threat. He kept glancing between the two of us, clearly trying to figure out what was going on. Feishu's expression soured as well. What are you doing here, Auntie? She blurted out. A hint of amusement flickered across Qingyue's face. I don't believe I need to report my whereabouts to you. Her voice was flat, yet the invisible pressure she exerted was suffocating. Su Feishu's palms began to sweat. I didn't mean it like that. She took a deep breath and looked at me. I had a certain effortless, bold, handsome look, and Su Qingyue was stunning in her own right. Standing together, we looked like a perfect match, a couple made in heaven. A sharp pang of jealousy hit Su Feishui. She couldn't help herself. Mr. Fang, you've been spending all your time caring for great-grandma at the hospital. Doesn't your wife mind? I was a bit confused by the question. I stole a quick glance at Su Qingyue. I'm sure she doesn't mind, I said with a cryptic smile. Feishui's face went pale. She opened her mouth to argue, but Su Qingyue suddenly spoke up. Ready to go back, Grandma is waiting for you. I hesitated at the word back. It was a concept I hadn't felt in a long time. I didn't have a home. Let's go, I replied with a smile. The two of us turned and walked away. Su Feishui stared at my back with a dark, resentful gaze. For a split second, she felt a desperate, reckless urge to try and win me back at any cost. But then Boda caught her arm. Feishui, I'll make sure Dr. Nan helps us out. It was like her sanity finally returned. Good, I'll walk you down. After seeing her off, Boda felt a deep sense of unease. He returned to the room and saw Mrs. Fang getting up to stretch. His eyes flickered. He walked to the bed, pretending to straighten the sheets. Suddenly, he cried out, Mom, what is this bottle of medicine doing here? Fang Wenzong frowned. Isn't that the mystery stuff Fang Lanzhou brought? Why did you keep that junk? I took one last night, Mrs. Fang explained. I really think it helped. That's impossible, Wenzong cut in. It was obviously the sleeping pills. He snatched the bottle away, with a look of disgust. Who knows where he even got this stuff? You can't just take random pills. Do you want to end up poisoning yourself? Wait, don't throw it away, Mrs. Fang urged. I won't take it tonight, and we'll see. Let's find out once and for all which medicine actually works. Fang Wenzong sighed. Fine. Night fell quickly. Nanny Nan held the sleeping pill in her palm, as if it were a miracle cure from the gods. Once she saw Mrs. Fang take it, she turned off the light and tiptoed out of the room. The room went silent. Half an hour passed without a sound from inside. Nanny Nan said excitedly, Miss Feishui, this medicine is a lifesaver. Madam hasn't slept through the night in 20 years. Fang Boda acted modest. Please don't mention it. It's not like the VIP room was Feishui's doing anyway. Today was a total embarrassment. Compared to a hospital room, Wenzong said this medicine is what really matters. Otherwise, even if she stayed in the White House, she still wouldn't be able to sleep. Besides, Feishui did us a huge favor, without making a show of it like Feng Lanzhou. He actually had a senior assistant come here just to rub it in. Does he expect us to bow down and thank him? After he finished, he looked at Lanzhou's bottle of medicine with pure disgust. Nanny Nan, get rid of this garbage. I don't want my wife accidentally taking any more of it. The words had barely left his mouth when a violent hacking cough erupted from the hospital room. Wenzong froze. He traded a look with Nanny Nan, and they both rushed into the room. With nervous coughing fits, the symptoms always peaked at night. Nanny Nan flipped on the light. They saw Mrs. Fang, sitting upright in bed. She was clutching her mouth, her face turning red from the strain. Her frail body shook violently with every hack. It was a terrifying sight. Seeing her like this, Wenzong rushed to her side and grabbed her shoulders. Honey, what's wrong? The medicine, give it, she wheezed. Wenzong was confused, but Nanny Nan understood instantly. She bolted out of the room and came back in with the bottle Fang Lanzhou had provided. I have it, Madam. Mrs. Fang nodded weakly. Nanny Nan frantically opened the bottle, but as she reached for a pill, Fang Boda grabbed her wrist. Mom's coughing just got worse, Boda said, frowning. What if this medicine is the cause? We shouldn't be giving her something from an unknown source. His gut told him the medicine actually worked, and that was exactly why he couldn't let her take it. He looked at Wenzong. When you're biased against someone, everything they do looks like a mistake. To Wenzong, the fact that Lanzhou was Li Ruyan's son was the ultimate strike against him. That boy is a menace, Wenzong growled. He's good for nothing but trouble. I knew he wasn't reliable. You've been so good to him. And he tries to poison you, Boda felt a surge of triumph. But between coughs, Mrs. Fang looked directly at Nanny Nan. Give it to me. Nanny Nan's loyalty was absolute. She immediately handed the pill to Mrs. Fang. Mrs. Fang swallowed it instantly. No, Wenzong shouted, reaching out to stop her. But the coughing had already ceased. Once the fit passed, she let out a long, shaky breath. She looked at them with total conviction. It's settled. Lanzhou's medicine is the only thing that works. After Mrs. Fang finally fell asleep, they stepped back into the outer room. Fang Boda looked pale. He bit his lip. Dad, Lanzhou is really something. I can't believe he found a drug that actually works. He doesn't have that kind of pull, Wenzong scoffed. I'm sure he just got Miss Su to buy it for him. Wenzong's brow furrowed. It seems old Mrs. Su really does think the world of him. Boda's fingers clenched into a fist. Back in the VIP suite, what did you have for lunch? The old lady racked her brain. Was it plain porridge? No, that wasn't it. It was noodles, wasn't it, you brat? Su Qingyue smiled and nodded. That's right. The old lady beamed. I told you I'm fine. My brain's still sharp as a tack. Qingyue didn't say anything, but looking closely, you could tell her smile didn't reach her eyes. They actually had rice for lunch. Grandma had forgotten again. Her condition was clearly getting worse. Even her memory was starting to fail. Grandma, I suddenly interjected in a casual tone. What color were Miss Sue's earrings yesterday? Purple, the old lady chirped immediately. This girl is so picky about her outfits. She even wore those diamond cufflinks. And the day before blue. I'm the one who bought those blue earrings for her. I smiled at Su Qingyue, my look full of meaning. Grandma remembers the things she cares about perfectly. Qingyue looked over at me. I was sinking deep, into the beanbag chair, looking completely relaxed, while I messed around on my phone. She realized I was trying to comfort her, and the tension in her chest began to fade. The old lady suddenly chuckled. Grandson-in-law, I got all that right, didn't I? I nodded with a smile. Every word. She turned back to Su Qingyue. You see that brat, did you hear him? Your husband even remembers exactly what you wear every day. He really loves you. I froze when I heard that. I just have a photographic memory. I wasn't consciously trying to track her outfits. I was about to explain myself, but Qingyue just kept her eyes on her laptop, completely ignoring us. She probably didn't even hear what Grandma said. I decided to let it go. No need to make it awkward by over-explaining. What I didn't notice, however, was that the tips of her ears were turning red. I went back to the work on my phone, putting the finishing touches on my Alzheimer's research. I was stuck on the final details, so I stood up. I'm going to go for a walk. As I was heading downstairs with the Shiba Inu and the kitten, someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around to find a sleazy, middle-aged man standing behind me. Hey, nephew, long time no see, he said with a greasy grin. My expression darkened instantly. This was Li Ruyan's brother, my uncle Li Xinquan. He was unemployed, a degenerate gambler, and his breath reeked of rot. His yellowed teeth were enough to make anyone gag. I took a step back. What are you doing here? Li Xinquan rubbed his hands together like a creep. Well, I heard my dear nephew managed to wiggle his way into the Su family. Your uncle's a little short on cash lately. How about you lend me some? I scoffed. Li Ruyan had always been a sucker for her family. She stayed at the Fang house just to take the money they gave her and hand it all over to this loser. After I left the Fangs, Li Xinquan had harassed me for money constantly. He only stopped when he realized I truly had nothing left. I can't believe he's back for more. I don't have any money, I said flatly. Li Xinquan didn't buy it. You're taking such good care of that old woman. You're telling me she hasn't given you a dime. I narrowed my eyes. Not yet. Maybe she will later. His face lit up. Then you'd better hook your uncle up when she does. If you give me enough, I might even tell you a secret. He didn't dare cause a scene here. This was the VIP wing full of rich and powerful people, with security guards patrolling nearby. He just chuckled and walked away. I let out a contemptuous snort. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Seeing it was Mrs. Fang, I answered immediately. Meanwhile, Fang Boda was pacing the room anxiously. To secure his place with the Sus, he needed Dr. Nan's help. But all day long, Dr. Nan hadn't replied to Mrs. Fang's messages. Su Feishui had sent several more texts repeatedly asking about the doctor. He couldn't stall any longer. Fang Boda stopped in his tracks, then slipped quietly back into the patient's room. He took the phone from the sleeping Mrs. Fang's bedside and stepped out into the hallway. Taking a deep breath, he opened the contacts found Little Nan and hit dial. It rang 3 times before someone picked up. "Is everything okay, Mrs. Fang?" a cold voice asked. Fang Boda froze the second he heard it. That voice! Fang Lanzhou. Boda's eyes widened in shock. He stared at the phone in disbelief. There was no way he could mistake that voice. There was a pause on the other end. Then the voice turned even colder. Fang Boda. "What are you doing with Mrs. Fang's phone?" "It really is him." Boda felt like he'd seen a ghost. "No, it's impossible." He stared at the screen, a thought suddenly occurring to him. "Is this your phone number?" I was speechless. What kind of stupid question is that? Then it clicked for Boda. He'd almost forgotten that Fang Lanzhou's name also contained the character Nan. Mrs. Fang used to call him Little Nan sometimes. He let out a massive sigh of relief, which quickly turned into pure irritation. "You really are a pathetic suck-up. Just to get on my mother's good side, you used her maiden name for yours. You don't deserve that name." Downstairs, I just shrugged. I'd picked that name myself back in grade school. It was indeed Mrs. Fang's maiden name, Nan. I was young and just liked how it sounded. I never stopped to think if it would upset her. The daughter of a mistress, taking her victim's surname as a first name. I can only imagine how Mrs. Fang felt about it back then. But that was in the past. "Why are you calling?" I asked flatly. "Not for this, obviously," Boda snapped, finally dropping his act. "I just wanted to tell you something. You might have used old Mrs. Su to get close to her granddaughter, but you're just a side piece. A toy. Miss Su already has a husband. But I'm different. I'm going to marry Airin and become a legitimate part of the Su family." I gave him a dry response. "Well, congratulations." Boda felt like he was punching a cloud. He decided to get one last dig in. High society isn't just about feelings. As long as I have Dr. Nan on my side, I'm untouchable. He hung up. I twitched my lip. Since when did I become his greatest asset? While I was thinking, my phone rang again. This time, it was a voice call from Mrs. Fang to Dr. Nan. I tapped a few buttons on my phone to activate the voice changer, then answered. "Hello," I said tonelessly. My voice came out completely distorted. Seeing my uncle Li Shengquan earlier made me realize it was better to keep a low profile. I didn't need any more toxic relatives crawling out of the woodwork. "Hello," Dr. Nan Boda said respectfully. "Sorry to bother you. I'm Nanjing's son, Fang Boda. I'm calling because the Su Group wants to invite you to join their R&D team. My mother feels the same way. Would you be interested?" "Not interested," I interrupted coldly. Boda stammered, trying to continue, but I cut him off. "I'm only responsible for the companies under Mrs. Fang's name." With that, I hung up. On Monday, I left the puppy with the old lady and headed off to work like a normal person. Standing outside the hospital gates, I debated whether to grab a cab or take the subway. I walked out of the hospital gates, debating whether to grab a cab or just take the subway. A sleek Bentley pulled up slowly alongside me. Su Qingyue kept her eyes fixed on the road. "Get in," she said flatly. I raised a hand in refusal. "That's okay. We weren't exactly on carpool terms yet. Grandma wants me to drop you at work," she added calmly. "Just tell her you did." She shot me a look. "She'll want a photo as proof." "Fine." I opened the back door and slid in next to her. Qingyue held up her phone to frame us both. I flashed a peace sign and a bright boyish smile. For a split second, she stared at me, looking a little dazed. Yehua, sitting in the passenger seat, hesitated. I don't recall the old lady making that request this morning. I must have missed it. Once the photo was taken, I sat back and got to work on my phone. We didn't say another word to each other, all the way to the Su Group's underground garage. Su Qingyue took her private executive elevator and left with Yehua. I took the staff elevator up to the R&D department. Meanwhile, the R&D management team was holding a meeting in the office. You could cut the tension with a knife. The general manager announced a new personnel change. By order of the board, team lead Su Feishui is being promoted to deputy manager. She will be overseeing all technical issues for the department. Someone asked why the announcement was so sudden. The manager explained. Deputy Manager Su successfully recruited Dr. Nan to serve as our technical consultant. This is a massive win for us. Even though the doctor won't be in the office daily, you can go through Manager Su for any technical hurdles you need solved. Upstairs, Yehua was giving Su Qingyue an update on my morning. Qingyue's cold gaze swept over her. He spent the entire morning in the library. Yes. He clocked in and went straight there. He hasn't even stopped for lunch. What was he reading? I didn't catch the titles. Probably something on new energy sources. Qingyue's voice was sharp with annoyance. Yehua shuddered, suddenly realizing her mistake. He's been headed for the library since his first day. He's been headed for the library since his first day. His whole reason for joining the company was to access those archives. What he's researching is the only thing that matters. My apologies, I'll check right now. Qingyue was already on her feet, heading for the door. Don't follow me, she commanded. She reached the library quickly. She found me in the neurology section, tucked away among the medical texts. My head was tilted back, eyes scanning the rows of books at high speed. I stopped at the very top shelf, my eyes lighting up as if I'd found buried treasure. I dragged over a ladder, climbed up, and reached for the book. My shirt was loose, and the movement caused it to ride up. From where she was standing, Qingyue got a clear glimpse of my abs. She froze for a second, then slowly looked away, a faint blush creeping onto her face. I didn't notice her at all. I flipped through the pages, and my excitement surged. This was it, the exact book I was looking for. In my rush to get to a seat, I forgot I was still 3 feet off the ground. I stepped out into thin air, lost my balance, and tumbled down, landing right on top of Su Qingyue. When I realized it was her, I scrambled to my feet, my heart racing. I'm so sorry, I stammered. I didn't see you there. She stood up slowly, her eyelashes fluttering. It's fine, she said, trying to act like it was no big deal. The silence between us was painfully awkward. I cleared my throat. I just remembered I have something to do in R&D. I'll see you later, she nodded. Fine. With her dismissal, I tucked the book away, in an inconspicuous corner of the shelf. Once she left, I took the book I just found and hid it in an inconspicuous corner. I hid it well, afraid someone else might borrow it. Then I left the library. By the time I reached the elevator, my heart was still racing. After grabbing a quick bite, I headed back to my desk and spent the afternoon clearing the technical hurdles my team had been stuck on all week. My colleagues were stunned by how easily I handled it. Later, I took a different elevator up to the 60th floor and rushed back to where I'd hidden the book. I knew if I studied it carefully, I could finally find a way to treat Grandma's condition, but then I realized the book was gone. I stood there completely baffled. I searched the entire shelf frantically, but there was no sign of it anywhere. None of the other people in the area seemed to be reading it. Books from the Su Group's private archives aren't allowed to be checked out. Suddenly it clicked. In this entire company, only one person has the authority to just walk out with a book. Up in the executive suite, Su Qingyue was frowning. As she flipped through the thick volume, it was a dense text on advanced neurology. Because of her grandmother's health, she knew a little bit about the subject, but this was way over her head. She couldn't fathom why I'd be interested in it. Yehua stood nearby, giving her a full report on my activities downstairs. Boss Fang Lanzo is totally taking advantage of the old lady's kindness. He's just doing whatever he wants. You even went out of your way to put him in a department that matches his background, just to give him a chance to learn, but he's so ungrateful. He wasn't looking for a job in the first place, Qingyue said coldly. She set the book down. Yehua looked confused. For a second, it almost sounded like her boss was defending him. No, she thought I must be imagining things. She asked, since we can't make heads or tails of this, should I return it? Qingyue tapped her fingers on the cover. She remembered the look in my eyes when I saw her earlier, that bright, expectant spark. Then she remembered how awkward things got between us. Her throat suddenly felt dry. Not yet. On my end, I thought about going upstairs to get the book back. But then I remembered the run-in we had. I felt a little too embarrassed to face her again today. Quitting time. In the underground parking garage. Inside the Bentley, ready to go, Boss Yehua asked. Not yet, Qingyue replied calmly, still holding that thick medical text. Yehua was about to ask who they were waiting for, when I walked over and naturally got into the car. Only then did Qingyue look up. Let's go. Yehua was stunned. Her boss hadn't mentioned anything about giving Mr. Fang a ride. As we drove through the city, I glanced at the book in Qingyue's hand. I wanted to ask to borrow it, but considering we were both technically working, I decided to wait a few days. We didn't exchange a single word until we arrived back at the hospital. As soon as we reached the third-floor VIP wing, We heard Li Ruyan's loud voice. Old Mrs. Su, I came specifically to see you. It's funny how our paths keep crossing. Old Mrs. Su was blocking the door to the room, glaring at Li Ruyan. If you don't leave, I'll have someone throw you out. Li Ruyan gave a forced fawning smile. She looked desperate. I'm Fang Lanzhou's mother. You adore him, don't you? For his sake, you shouldn't treat me like this. You're not his mother, the old lady said firmly. Mrs. Fang is his real mother. Those words sent a cold shiver down Li Ruyan's spine. How do you know that she blurted out? Li Ruyan was terrified. The swap was a secret that only she and her brother Li Shengquan knew about. She hadn't even told her own son Fang Boda. How could old Mrs. Su possibly know and she wasn't guessing? She sounded absolutely certain. As she saw Qingyue and me approaching, Li Ruyan looked even more guilty. She could only hope we hadn't heard what she just said. Her eyes were full of guilt. She prayed we hadn't overheard what she just said. Old Mrs. Su just snorted. I know you've been bullying fake Xue. You're a nasty woman. The old lady's words were scattered, like she was losing her grip on reality. Li Ruyan let out a sigh of relief. She walked over to me and held out a thermos. Lanzhou, I brought you some chicken soup. You've worked so hard taking care of the old lady. Drink up. You need to keep your strength up. The aroma of the soup filled the air, but all I felt was disgust. This was the first time Li Ruyan had ever cooked for me. I asked flatly, what do you want? She smiled thinly. It's about that 2% stake for Boda. Old Mrs. Su clearly thinks the world of you. She arranged a room for Mrs. Fang and even helped you find medicine. If you ask, she'll definitely help your brother. Otherwise, Boda will never be able to hold his head up around Su Feishui. My gaze was icy and my voice was even colder. No. Li Ruyan's face dropped. She couldn't keep up the act anymore. She glared at me. Fine. I went through hell to bring you into this world, and now that you've moved up in life, you've got no heart. She sat right down on the floor. If you won't help me, I'm not moving, she wailed. Everyone look at this. My son is an ungrateful dog. He's ashamed of his own mother's background, so he's here kissing up to old Mrs. Su, acting like he's her own grandson. Nearby staff and patients started whispering and pointing at us. He seemed like such a nice young man. I can't believe he's like this, turning his back on his own mother just for money. How heartless can you be? I stood there expressionless. I hated admitting that this woman throwing a tantrum was my mother, but it was a bond I couldn't break. A wave of helplessness washed over me. I gave a dry laugh. Keep making a scene. You're disturbing the other patients. Security will be here soon. I turned to walk past her. Li Ruyan exploded with rage. You ungrateful brat. In a fit of fury, she lunged to her feet and hurled the thermos of hot soup at me. Look out! I heard a sharp voice cry out, and the next thing I knew, someone had grabbed me in a tight embrace. I turned in shock to see Su Qingyue standing behind me. She had used her own body to shield me from the scalding soup. Steam was rising from her white blouse. My heart stopped. Are you okay? I'm fine, she said, her brow furrowing as she looked at Li Ruyan. Li Ruyan was paralyzed with fear. Miss Su, I didn't mean to hit you. I... Panicked, she turned and bolted, vanishing down the hallway. No one went after her. Everyone crowded around Qingyue and hurried her into the room. The old lady rushed over. Get that off, she cried, reaching for Qingyue's clothes. Let me see how bad it is. Are there blisters? Qingyue calmly took off her jacket and blouse, exposing her back. I instinctively looked away, but not before I saw that her skin was bright red and covered in tiny blisters. She wasn't fine at all. It was a serious burn. Oh, that looks so painful, grandson-in-law. Come put some medicine on her. The old lady grabbed the ointment from the nurse and shoved it into my hands. She pushed me toward Qingyue and ushered everyone else out. Come on, everyone out. We don't want to embarrass the poor girl. She leaned in close to me and whispered, I'm leaving her in your hands. Suddenly, the room was silent. The air was thick with tension. Grandma's just being dramatic, Qingyue said softly. I'll have the nurse come back in. I'll do it, I said, cutting her off. I stepped up behind her. It was late afternoon, and the golden light from the window spilled into the room, casting our long shadows against the floor. Su Qingyue stood by the window, the twilight glow draped across her bare back. I looked away immediately. It felt like a stone had been tossed into a still lake, sending ripples through my heart. I put some ointment on my fingertips and gently applied it to the burn. She didn't make a sound the entire time, but the moment my fingers touched her skin, I felt her muscles tense up. My shallow breath brushed against her back, and the air felt like it was catching fire. A moment later, I finished. Qingyue put on a fresh shirt, her long, elegant fingers, neatly smoothing her hair. "Thank you, Mr. Fang. You're welcome." I hesitated, then looked at her. "You really didn't have to shield me. Now you're the one who's hurt. If you got hurt, Grandma would be devastated. If it were you, she'd be even more upset. I'm just an outsider after all." She fixed her dark eyes on mine. "Have you forgotten you're my husband now?" My breath hitched. The room felt smaller. The moment she said that, my heart skipped a beat. I, I'm going out for a bit." I turned to leave. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To get even. I don't care what Li Ruyan does to me, but she crossed the line when she hurt Su Qingyue." I wasn't letting this go. I headed toward Mrs. Fang's room to see if Li Ruyan was hiding there. As I got close, I caught sight of Fang Boda and another man, ducking into the stairwell. The man looked shady and suspicious. He looked exactly like my uncle Li Shengquan. Curious, I followed them. Inside the stairwell, Shengquan was rubbing his hands together. "Look, nephew, your uncle's a little short on cash." Boda was barely containing his rage. "I already gave you my allowance for the month." Li Shengquan was his living nightmare. He'd shown up out of nowhere years ago and dropped a bombshell. Boda was actually Li Ruyan's son. He'd been extorting Boda ever since, threatening to tell the truth to Fang Wenzhong. And Mrs. Fang, Shengquan didn't care. He just chuckled. "I'm at the end of my rope here. If you don't pay up, I'll go tell Fang Lanshu the truth instead." I bet he'd pay a fortune to hear it. I pushed the door open. I stood there silhouetted against the light. My voice was ice. What truth? My sudden appearance nearly gave Boda a heart attack. He shot a panicked look at Li Shengquan. Shengquan just smirked. He was about to speak. But Boda snapped first. "Lanzhou, what the hell are you spying on us?" I looked back and forth between the two of them. "Don't try to change the subject." I looked back at Shengquan. "What's this truth you're talking about? My gut told me. This secret involved me." "I can pay you," I added. Shengquan's eyes lit up. "How much we talking?" I glanced at Boda. He was clutching his sleeves, visibly shaking with fear. "Name your price," I said flatly. "I can get the money from the Sus." Shengquan's beady eyes darted around. Finally, he looked at Boda with a greasy smile. "Actually, I think Boda's still the better meal ticket." "Right," Boda let out a massive sigh of relief. "Exactly, I'll get you the money," he told Shengquan. "Now get lost." Shengquan let out a sleazy laugh. "You got it, I'm on my way." As he walked past me, he leaned in. "Hey, nephew, my offer still stands. If the price is right, the secret is yours." With that, he practically skipped away. I watched him go, my eyes narrowing. Then I pulled out my phone. I sent a text to Jiyue, "Check out Li Shengquan." Jiyue replied instantly on it. Then another message followed, "Boss, there's an industry mixer tomorrow. I sent the invite to your email. You going?" I sent back a short reply, "No." I looked up from my phone, just as Fang Boda was walking past me with his head down. "If you don't want people to find out," I said flatly, "you shouldn't do it in the first place." "Did you really think I wouldn't find out about you and Li Shengquan?" Boda froze in his tracks. He looked up with a forced smile. "Lanzhou, what are you talking about? I have no idea." No wonder the young master of the Fang family is always so strapped for cash. "You've been paying him every month. Just how much does he have on you?" Boda snapped back. "You're talking nonsense. What could he possibly have on me?" His eyes turned cold and vicious. "Fang Lanzhou, I suggest you stop wasting your time on me and start worrying about your own future." My face went cold. As Boda turned to leave again, I asked calmly, "Where's Li Ruyan?" That set him off instantly. "She's your mother." "Why are you asking me? How should I know?" Since Boda found out the truth from Li Shengquan, he'd been keeping it from Li Ruyan, pretending he was still in the dark. That woman is too stupid, he thought. He was afraid if he acknowledged her, she'd slip up and blow their cover. So Li Ruyan had no idea that Boda already knew the truth about his birth. Boda spat those words out and walked away. I followed him to Mrs. Fang's hospital room. Through the glass in the door, I could see that Li Ruyan wasn't inside. I didn't want to disturb Mrs. Fang, so I headed downstairs and out of the building. I dialed Li Ruyan's number. "Where are you?" Her voice came through sounding frantic. "Fang Lanzhou, what do you want?" I want you to come back and apologize to Miss Su. Her voice turned shrill. No, Miss Su will never forgive me. You apologize for me. You're my son. A son should pay his mother's debts. I let out a cold laugh. In that case, don't blame me for calling the police. Li Ruyan started screaming. Why would you call the police? I'm your mother. You were the one I was trying to hit. A mother has every right to discipline her child. I remained indifferent. But the one you actually hurt was Miss Su. You have to take responsibility for your mistakes. You ungrateful brat. If I knew you'd turn out like this, I should have smothered you the day you were born. I didn't stay to listen. I just hung up. Usually our squabbles would just be dismissed as a family dispute. But this was different. Because she injured Su Qingyue, Li Ruyan ended up in police custody for 48 hours, on top of the fines and medical bills. Not that the money mattered. To a family like the Su's, once I'd handled everything, I went back to the old lady's room. Qingyue wasn't there. Grandma explained that she had an important meeting and was taking it in the van downstairs. I nodded. After a moment of silence, I spoke up. Grandma, I'm sorry. She just waved it off. Your family lands who? Why are you apologizing besides seeing that girl protect you like that? It made me so happy. I paused. Family in this chaotic, busy world, I've always felt like I didn't have a home, but for the first time, I felt like I finally did. Meanwhile, Feng Boda sold a watch on the second-hand market and wired the 50,000 to Li Shengquan. He sent a text along with it, keep your mouth shut. I always knew I didn't have a home to go back to, but now it finally feels like I do. Feng Boda sold a watch on the second-hand market to scrape together the 50,000 for Li Shengquan. He sent a text with the transfer, keep your mouth shut. Otherwise, we're both screwed, Li Shengquan replied almost instantly. My dear nephew, don't worry. I might not be the brightest guy, but I know who's got the deeper pockets. Between you and Fang Lanzhou. Still, Boda couldn't shake his anxiety. He had to marry Su Feishui as soon as possible. That way, even if his true identity came out, he'd still be the Su family's son-in-law. At 9 p.m., Su Feishui paid him a surprise visit. Boda was thrilled. Feishui, what are you doing here? She got straight to the point. Are you positive you have a deal with Dr. Nan? Boda's eyes darted around. Of course. Then set up a meeting between us. Boda nervously picked at his fingers. He's out of the country. I'll set it up as soon as he's back. Feishui, is there something specific you need help with? I can reach out to him for you. Feishui gave him a skeptical look. I sent a technical issue to your email. Forward it to Dr. Nan and see if he can solve it. Sure, I'll send it over right now to prove he wasn't lying. Boda pulled out his phone and forwarded the email immediately. Dr. Nan usually replies to me within seconds. Just give him a moment. Back in the VIP ward, my phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen and saw an email from Mrs. Fang. Xiaonan, can you help me with this problem? I had a feeling I knew what it was. I opened the attachment. Just as I thought, it was a technical issue from the Su group. That idiot Boda. He was actually using Mrs. Fang's name to ask for my help. I gave a contemptuous laugh and typed out a reply. A notification chime rang out. Boda let out a sigh of relief. See, that's Dr. Nan getting back to me. He's fast. Boda opened the email. Since graduating, Boda had been working at the family company. He knew Mrs. Fang's email password by heart. He'd even spent time studying her past correspondence with Dr. Nan. He noticed that whenever she emailed him, Dr. Nan would reply instantly, never asking questions, just solving the problem. It was clear he held Mrs. Fang in high regard. That was the only reason Boda dared to lie. About Dr. Nan accepting the Su group's invitation. With a smug smile, Boda opened the reply only to read, I only work for the Fang family. The Su group's problems are none of my concern. The smile died on Boda's face. Noticing his shift in expression, Feishui frowned. What is it? Boda tried to hide his panic. Dr. Nan says, it'll take a few days to figure this one out. Feishui relaxed. That makes sense. It's a pretty complex issue. But I told Fang Lanzhou and the others I'd have a solution by Friday. We're still good, right? We're fine, Boda said firmly, though his eyes were full of doubt. He clearly said he'd made a bet with Fang Lanzhou. Feishui headed back home shortly after. She felt uneasy about the whole situation. Her father, Su Yuanjie, actually gave her a rare smile. He patted her shoulder and praised her. That's my girl. I can't believe you landed Dr. Nan. You're making a name for yourself in R&D already. Feishui was floored. Dad, don't worry, I'll work even harder. I'll help you take back control of the company. Good, Yuanjie said, heading into the master bedroom. For the night. Is your father actually staying home tonight? He's not going out to see that mistress. Her mother, Liu Meijin, was moved to tears. You have to stay ahead of that bastard son of his. That's the only way your father will stay. She wiped her eyes. Boda might have upset the old lady at the banquet, but he really pulled through this time. Enough about that. I'll go get your father settled in for the night. I watched my mother walk into the bedroom glowing with joy. Fei Shui clenched her fists, her mind made up about marrying Boda. Bringing Dr. Nan's assistant into the fold was her best move yet. She had made her choice and she wasn't looking back. As for Fang Lanzhu, he was nothing but a footnote now. You'd let him come work for me. I rubbed my nose, my eyes never leaving my computer screen. I reached for my water glass to clear my throat, only to find it was empty. I set it back down and dove back into my work. Suddenly the lighting shifted. I looked up to see Su Qingyue placing a fresh glass of water on the small side table for me. I was a bit surprised. Thanks. Don't mention it, she said simply. She turned and headed back to her side of the room. Grandma watched the two of us grinning ear to ear. In her mind, she could already hear a great-grandchild calling her name. What should Qingyue and Lanzhou's baby be named? She put on her reading glasses and started flipping through dictionaries and classic poetry books. As the night grew late, the dog and cat got bored with Grandma and wandered over to me, wagging their tails. They eventually curled up at Qingyue's feet and fell asleep. The next morning, Qingyue put on her work clothes. She moved so gracefully you'd never know she was injured. Burns are the most painful kind of injury, yet she hadn't made a single complaint since it happened. I couldn't help but admire her toughness. When it was time to head in, I didn't overthink it and just hopped in her car. Her assistant sat in the passenger seat watching us through the rearview mirror. The boss and Mr. Fang were both busy on their phones, not saying a word, but she could sense that something had shifted between them. We arrived at the office in no time. I said goodbye to Qingyue and headed for the R&D department. Of course, Su Qingyue was there to intercept me. She was holding a coffee in the lounge area by the elevators. There's an industry mixer tonight for green energy, she said. All the major players will be there. Word is Dr. Nan might even show up. I kept walking. And R&D has an invite. I can take you with me to see how things really work. Networking with people like that would be huge for your career. No thanks, I'm good. I didn't even look back as I walked into the Group 1 office. Fetcher stood there, her face a mask of pure fury. Our department head Zhang Yingqiao walked past her in slippers. She let out a lazy yawn and a mockingly laugh. You think you can buy him with a simple invitation? Lanzhu isn't that short-sighted. Fei Shui sneered. If you actually cared about him, Yingqiao. No thank you. You know I have better resources to offer. A mixer like that. You think just anyone can get in? Yingqiao looked her dead in the eye. Well, I can take him. Yingqiao had always been a core member of R&D. It was no surprise she had an invite. Fei Shui's expression darkened. I worked through the day, but as I was leaving, Yingqiao stopped me. We have a work thing tonight. You're coming with me. Sure. I didn't think much of it. I just texted Qingyue to say I'd be working late and got in Yingqiao's car. We soon arrived at a high-end corporate gala. Just stay close to me, Yingqiao instructed. I'll introduce you to some people in the industry. Dr. Nan rarely goes to these things, though, so he probably won't be here. Don't get your hopes up. I realized then what this was all about. I had to laugh. I really had no interest in these mixers. But since I was already there, I figured I'd check it out. Besides, it had been a while since I'd seen Jiue. We reached the entrance and Yingqiao presented her invitation. But as she tried to lead me in, the waiter stopped her. I'm sorry, Ms. Zhang. The Su Group already sent us their guest list for tonight. Your name isn't on it. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I honestly have zero interest in these networking events. But since I'm already here, I might as well check it out. Besides, it's been a while since I've seen Jiue. The two of us reached the entrance. Zhang Yingqiao presented her invitation and started to lead me inside. But a staff member stopped us. I'm sorry, Ms. Zhang. The Su Group provided a guest list for today's event in advance, and your name isn't on it. Zhang Yingqiao frowned in disbelief. That's impossible. Her technical skills are top tier in this industry. Usually she's the one turning down invites to these galas. There isn't a door in this town she can't get through. Su Qingyue walked over, sipping champagne. She narrowed her eyes. Section Chief Zhang. With all the tasks Group 1 has on their plate, I figured you wouldn't be coming. So I declined on your behalf when I filed the reports. It's a bit late to add you back now. You should probably just head home. Yingqiao was fuming. Su Qingyue. You've gone way too far this time. What right do you have to decline for me? Fei Shui sneered. You need to remember something, Yin Qiao. Your status in this industry was given to you by the Su Group. They invited the Jiang Yingqiao who works for us. As the VP of R&D, I absolutely have the right to make decisions for you. Yinghao looked like she was about to explode. Someone with her level of talent gets respect and perks no matter where they work. If she ever left the Su Group, dozens of companies would be lining up to hire her. Because of that, even the general manager of R&D wouldn't dare push her around. Yet here was Su Feixue using her VP title to bully her. I suggest you don't make a scene, Feixue continued. Let's keep this professional. You wouldn't want the guards to escort you out, would you? After she finished her threat, Feixue finally looked at me. You see how this works, Lanzhou. Without my approval, you can't even get through these doors. I looked at her calmly. Is that so? I pulled out my phone and opened the invitation Jiyu had emailed me. I showed it to the attendant. Can we go in now? The attendant took one look and immediately bowed respectfully. Right this way, sir. Feixue stood there, stunned. How do you have an invitation? She stepped forward immediately, trying to get a look at my screen. Did you steal someone else's? These are non-transferable. But as soon as she saw the name on the digital invite, she froze. At these industry events, the invitations almost always include the guest company and job title. Even Yin Qiao's invite wasn't actually sent to her, just as a courtesy to the Su Group. It was sent because of her personal reputation. The only reason the Su Group was mentioned was because she happened to work there. But for people with enough clout or complex status, those titles are omitted, and the invitation in my hand simply read Fang Lunzhou. Seeing this, Feixue asked in shock, in what capacity did you get this invitation? None of your business? I locked my phone and looked at Yin Qiao. Shall we? Just a moment ago, Yin Qiao thought she'd lost this round. She was even feeling bad that she couldn't get me inside. She didn't expect the tables to turn so fast. She followed me into the ballroom. Where did you get that invite? I was about to answer, but she beat me to it. Your cousin must have pulled some strings, right? No company name means you aren't beholden to anyone. Her expression then darkened. Su Feixue really crossed the line today. I'm not letting this slide. As soon as I'm back at the office, I'm going to... I thought she was going to say she'd talk to the GM or take it up with the board of directors. Instead, she said she was going to her cousin to have her handle it. I just stared at her. What happened to I hate people who use connections? Maybe she noticed my look because she rubbed her nose sheepishly. I don't hate people with connections. I hate people with connections and no talent, who take up space they don't deserve. You have no idea how many nepotism hires are in this company, doing absolutely nothing. Anyway, why am I telling you all this? She grabbed 2 glasses of champagne. Let me introduce you to some people. Before I could even decline, she was already calling out, Mr. Liu. I had no choice but to follow. The man she called Mr. Liu was a seasoned veteran in our field. A crowd of people had already gathered around them to network. The senior exec gave Zhang Yingqiao a lot of respect. Chief Zhang, it's rare to see you at these things. Finally decided to take a break from the lab. And come swap stories with us old-timers. Yingqiao gave a polite smile. I'm just a junior compared to you gentlemen. I'm actually here to let someone else do the listening. She nudged me forward. This is the newest talent at our company. He solved a problem that had me stumped for a month. I finally managed to drag him out of the office tonight. If it stumped Zhang Yingqiao, it couldn't have been a simple fix. Yingqiao was intentionally talking me up, using her own reputation to give me a boost. Mr. Liu and the others immediately took an interest. They looked at me with curious smiles. That impressive, huh? Well, don't keep us waiting. Introduce us. Just as Yingqiao was about to speak, a voice cut in. Mr. Liu, long time no see. Everyone turned around to see Fang Boda in a flashy designer suit with Su Feixue clinging to his arm. The moment he spoke, the group abandoned us to swarm him. Young Master Fang, it's been far too long. Since you're here, does that mean Dr. Nan is coming too? Boda gave a smug little smile. I couldn't say. I'm just here to support my fiancée tonight. She's in the green energy sector too. Feixue reached out to shake Mr. Liu's hand. Su Group, I'm Su Feixue. Mr. Liu's face lit up. Ah, the young CEO Su. A pleasure to finally meet you. Fang Yu and Miss Su really make a stunning couple. We heard Dr. Nan has been the technical consultant for the Fang family for years. When is he finally going to show his face? We'd all love to learn a thing or two from him. Tell us what kind of impossible problems has he solved for your family lately? The conversation exploded into a debate as they huddled around Boda. Yingqiao and I were shoved right to the edge of the room. They're doing this on purpose, she muttered, her expression darkening. Then she added, but all those people combined aren't worth one Dr. Nan. Ji will be here soon. You need to go have a drink with her. Don't be shy. You have to be a little aggressive. Everyone wants a piece of her time. I've been trying for years and she still barely knows my face. Hearing her say that, I felt a corner of my mouth twitch. I'll introduce you to her later. Yingqiao brushed it off. Just focus on getting her to notice you first. Suddenly there was a stir at the entrance. I looked over and saw Jiyu arriving. She was wearing a sharp white suit, one hand in her pocket, looking effortlessly cool. Her expression was poised and distant. Nothing like the talkative, bubbly person she was around me. The second they saw her, the crowd rushed over. Miss Ji, good to see you. What projects are you working on lately? Any new breakthroughs? Boda and Qingyue didn't join the initial rush. Instead, they walked straight toward me. Boda had a fake smile plastered on his face. Lanzhou, do you want me to introduce you to CEO Ji? Feishui's eyes were cold. He managed to score an invite on his own, didn't he? I'm sure he's got plenty of connections. He probably knows her already. Why would he need your help? Boda chuckled. Is that so? CEO Ji is notoriously picky. She doesn't just talk to anyone who approaches her. I was going to help, but never mind. I won't embarrass myself. Yingqiao ignored their passive-aggressive comments. She grabbed a glass of champagne and handed it to me. Go on, she whispered, giving me a nudge. Go offer her a toast. Feishui let out a scoff. The Su group doesn't use looks to get ahead. Besides, do you really think Jiyu is that shallow, better-looking men than him have tried to charm her? Just to get info on Dr. Nan, she didn't give any of them the time of day. You really think you're that charming? You think you can win over anyone? Boda nudged her. Feishui, let's go introduce ourselves to CEO Ji. Feishui nodded, and the two of them headed toward Jiyue. Boda called out. Ju wasn't looking in their direction at first, but she glanced over when she heard her name. When she saw it was Fang Boda, she grimaced, and was about to look away until she spotted the person standing behind him. Jiyu's eyes widened. She practically beamed as she rushed toward me. Boda saw the look on her face and felt a surge of pride. Ever since he started working for the family business, he dealt with Jiyu a handful of times, but she was always so arrogant and barely gave him the time of day. He couldn't believe she was finally showing him this much respect in public. Beside him, Feishu stood a little taller. Seeing Jiyu's reaction, she was convinced Dr. Nan held Boda in very high regard. The two of them smiled, ready to greet Jiyue, but when Boda started to introduce Feishui, he couldn't even finish his sentence. Jiyu blew past them like a gust of wind and ran straight to the person behind them. Stunned, the two of them spun around, only to see Jiyu standing in front of me with a huge smile. What are you doing here?